Welcome to the Enthusiast Gaming Podcast, where today we have a very special guest who I'll mention in just a moment. First, I want to introduce my co-host, Wes. Wes, how you doing, man?
What's going on, my friend? I'm good. I'm excited to get this conversation started.
Me too. And lo and behold, we have Lord Cognito from ILP, Defining Duke, and about 5 billion other things because I don't think the man sleeps. But Cog, tell the audience who you are, a little bit about yourself, please.
Appreciate it, man. First of all, thanks for having me. Welcome to the realm of nerd enthusiasts. I know you guys have been very patient with my wild schedule, but Lord, Lord Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast, and obviously Defining Duke, co-host with Mr. Matty Plays, and again, CEO of lordsofgaming.net. And it's been fun, man. It's been fun just being in the content creation space. And I'm also used to work in the games industry for a little bit at Meta and mostly with VR and stuff like that as a PM and a program manager there. And it's been a fun run just in the content creation space and just in games media and stuff like that. But I'm excited to talk games, excited to talk, retro, classic, arcade era. And you guys seem brothers from my era. I feel a kinship when I see some of the stuff we were able to talk about.
He's saying we're old.
Yeah. Basically, AKA we old and we remember how things started.
Yes.
And we have an appreciation for that. And video games has always been in my blood. I'm a kid from the South Bronx, grew up with video games all my life. Brought an arcade unit home. And I got a lot of ties to arcades, Sega, and all type of stuff that we would talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to get into today. So today we're going to be talking about the New York area arcade scene from the 80s and 90s specifically. So we ain't talking about how it is today. We're talking about back in the day. That's what we do. Then we're going to talk about Sega and their systems, like transferring that from the arcade into, a Sega conversation. And we're going to slide into Xbox because that's eventually, come on. Original Xbox was the next Dreamcast, essentially. It was the follow-up. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. Then we're going to wrap things up. Then we're going to talk about Shinobi versus Ninja Gaiden. We're going to have to make some hard choices today, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready. And then finally, a pulse check where we're going to look at a couple different prices. We got a few different games. We'll figure that out as we go on. But first, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you guys like what you hear today, please consider subscribing to us over on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And finally, we would really appreciate it if you could support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/nerdenthusiast. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. Shout out to Peter this month. Peter, thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you very much.
All right, guys. And with that, we move into the New York arcade scene of the 80s and 90s. Where I would like to start with this is just so the audience knows, I'm not participating. I was not in New York at that period of time. And I'm also a little bit younger than the other two gentlemen that are joining me today. So I'm going to let them take most of this conversation away. But gentlemen, where did you dwell in the arcades of New York City?
Yeah, no, look, man, I love this topic. This is my origin. These are my stories. For me, it starts local. Obviously, you have your local mom and pop, stores, whether it be a grocery store or a laundromat, and they tend to have, they would probably have one arcade machine, one or two maybe, and they would rotate that out, and you would kind of get a vibe of, okay, what is the games to play or what games that are cool. For me specifically, I remember this is kind of what started my Sega love. I remember seeing the game Hang On for the first time. And I remember the booming speakers coming out of it, the handlebar on it. And as a kid, you're just drawn to a cabinet. And I thought that was really cool. But then as we progress and, more games come out, my first, I would say, like major arcade that I would frequent regular would be near River Avenue, near Yankee Stadium, 161st Street, Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. That was right across from Yankee Stadium. It was a huge arcade at its time in the Bronx. And that's where I noticed the competitive scene of the arcade kind of kick in, where people would come in, they would either play fighting games, whether it be the Street Fighters or whatever, and really compete. And you started to kind of build your bones locally in the competitive scene. But the arcades in general, it was just, for a kid, it's just so much amazement. It's these dark, rooms. The lights are vibrating, the
The
sounds,
cigarette smoke.
the cigarette smoke during the era in New York where cigarette smoke was allowed, right? So kids are coming in there, coming out smelling like
Mm-hmm.
cigarette smoke. But just the era of going to take $1, go to a machine that transfers your dollar into 4 quarters. Getting those quarters. The idea of, hey, I got next, putting my quarter on top of the machine,
Mm-hmm.
and then the line forms, right? And then just seeing these heroes, people who were savant at specific video games, and you're like, wow, this person's so talented. Like, my name is Lord Cognito, based on Cognito's kind of a play on incognito, which is stealth, and Shinobi, and that I remember Shinobi being the first game I saw, and I was just like, wow, this game is extremely hard. It looks amazing. It's the ninja craze of the 80s. And then I remember this one kid that would come in and complete the game on 1 quarter. And I thought this was the hardest game ever. And his nickname in our area was like Don. They used to call him Shinobi Don. So like, Shinobi Don's playing. That's why. And we would just circle around. Wow, look, he didn't lose a life on Keno. He beat Lobster. He got to Mass Ninja. Wow, like I couldn't even get past like mission 2 by myself. So you just amazed. So again, you had the heroes that were savants at single player arcade games. And then you had, like I said, the people who were these competitive beasts, whether it be Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I gave my bones in Tekken. And then as far as the arcade, scene, I would say after I expanded from, Yankee Stadium, then I remember, the downtown, the 42nd Streets, and then the Playland, these huge arcades. And you go, wow, this exists. And I may have gotten in trouble during my school days of frequenting one of these places when I wasn't supposed to frequent. And my mom may have been called by the truancy police during the time because you just wanted to go. All you cared about was video. And they must have known it because they're like, kids are going to cut class to try to go here during the day. So the truancy, they had an operation. They were probably doing sweeps. And they're like, yep, got 2 right here. And I never forget. That's the first time I really got in my trouble for video games. My mom's like, "You." She never liked video.
The first time he got in trouble for
The
video
first
games.
time, first time. So yeah, video games definitely shaped who I am big time because of the arcade. So yeah, you would say that, and I would say that the reason why the arcades are so important to me, and I also want to mention Chinatown Fair. When I really got good, Chinatown Fair, people tell me, "Oh, you got to go to China. You're a good
Downtown,
Tekken player.
yeah.
You're a good Tekken 3 player. You got one of the best harangues. You got one of the best Brian Furies. You need to test yourself against the best there." And it was the strangest place because, like, you go in, it was like a chicken or something. It was like a live chicken in a cage. When you walk past this thing, it was the weirdest setup. And it was like an L shape, I believe. And you walk past the chicken, and then they had a whole bunch of arcades. And again, that's when I really got good. And I wish Evo and all that stuff existed then because not to brag, I was really good. I was really good, and to the point where I don't know if you guys remember GameFAQs, the website.
Yes.
Yep.
GameFAQs would have people who would talk about competing and stuff. They would have like message board, and this is crazy if we think about. We used to set up things and meet people, have them meet at your house or meet at an area, and then go to like we could have been killed, kidnapped, all types of stuff could happen. Like this is the wild, wild west of the internet when it's kind of in a fledgling state. But that's how much the arcade scene really was bubbling. And the last thing I will say is that for me, as a gamer and as a person who loves tech, the arcade represented what was next gen. When you went to the arcade, you're like, wow, that's Virtua Fighters. This is a 3D game. Wow, that's Mortal Kombat. That's Pit Fighter. Look at how it's digitized. Look how it looked. Like it was always ahead of the console. And I remember the distinction of being disappointed when I had like a hang on in the arcade, and then you get the Master System. I know we're gonna talk about all that stuff, but it's one of those things where, as a young kid, you recognize like, this isn't exactly what I played, and there's a drop off. So the arcade became the excitement for what's new and what's powerful in tech and video games and in gaming. But yeah, those are some of my early memories. There's still stuff I'm probably forgetting, but it was it's my formative years. Those were the years that really made me appreciate video games to the utmost. And there's so many games I could talk about that I played and had an effect on me. You ask, there's tons, but yeah, those are probably much my early arcade history.
what were the years approximately? Like, was it the late '80s and early '90s, or like where would you put it at?
I gotta time it around Shinobi. So Shinobi's 87. So I'm gonna say, and I feel Hang On was about that. So I'm gonna say like 86, 87 is probably my debut of really frequenting them as a kid. And my dad really taking me. My dad, I owe my dad, my mom and my dad separated, but I owe my dad my video game. If it wasn't for him, he gave me a ColecoVision as my first console. That was his. And I remember, Donkey Kong was the pack-in. And I remember seeing Donkey Kong, at the arcade. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I'm from that era. The Pac-Man, of course, the tremendous, effect of Pac-Man, and I'm also forgetting Atari, how huge Atari was, during that time. And now I didn't have an Atari, but I remember the arcade games that they had and how how effective they were. So yeah, I would say probably 86, 87 is where I see my debut probably of consistently going. And prior to that, my dad would just kind of like take me here and there, or just have me play some ColecoVision, pretty much.
Nice.
Mhm.
Wes, what about you?
Man, our stories are very similar, man.
Mhm.
I think for me, I started a little earlier,
Mhm.
like early '90s, because my mom would always go to the store, and they in the toy section there was a Space Invaders or a Pac-Man, or like you said, the local pizzeria, the mom and pop pizzerias always had you know the Donkey Kongs and the Pac-Mans, and that's where it kind of started. And
Mhm.
from there, when the arcade scene really blew up, I spent a lot of time in Playland.
Whew.
A lot of time in Playland. Um, in the malls, there were timeout. I remember living in New York. You had
Yes, man.
timeout.
Wow.
Yeah. Going to Chinatown. Chinatown was the land where you got proved yourself in fighting games.
Where the boys became men, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
And I love playing Donkey Kong and Cubert. Cubert, I was a master at. Cubert, I was a master. That was my game. I was a master at. 1/4, I'd be on Cubert for hours, hours,
Mm.
hours. And
Mhm.
but like you said, that was going to the arcade was what you saw like the latest thing. I remember going and seeing Dragon's Lair
Oh my God.
or Space Ace for the first
Wow.
time. We were like, "Oh my god, what is this?"
Cartoon.
A
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah, it was $1 to play, but just seeing the technology was unbelievable. And then seeing Mortal Kombat and
Oh,
how it evolved for the first time, it was an experience. I mean, I'm glad we lived through it. I'm glad we
Yeah.
we can talk about it and live through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, then I kind of left New York and went to Jersey, even though I still had ties to New York. My aunt lived there, so I was frequenting Queens quite regularly. But I spent a lot of time in fun and games
Mm.
in like North Jersey. But
Nice.
yeah, man, it was
Yeah.
the memories. Just hearing you talk brought back so many memories. So many memories. Mortal Kombat, like you said, you got your respect when you would go. Your fighting game respect was when you go in an arcade, tons of people crowded around, and you put your quarter up. There'd be 10 quarters.
Yes.
Everybody knew whose quarter was whose.
Yes.
And no one, there was never a problem. Never
Yep.
a problem. Then the once the person lost, the next person's quarter took it, played it. You win or lose, next person's
Hmm.
quarter, but there'd be a row of quarters right
Yes.
on the screen. And like I said, everybody knew whose quarter it was. It was,
Yes.
man, I missed that.
Amazing. It's amazing. Not to interrupt you, but yeah, it was. I think what's missing. I think from our era, not to brag, but I think what really separated our era is the fact that we're physically next to each other, right,
Mm-hmm.
competing. Then you have the circle around you of
Mm-hmm.
people watching you compete. So your rep is on the line, and there's
Yes.
that intense. There's not this distance, and you're online, and this is before the online gaming era, right? So you really had to. There's a competitive spirit and a competition spirit that let people know, like, hey, I am very confident in my skills. I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to put it all on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's documenting, win or loss kind of thing. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really cool. But also, even if you lost, there's still, for the most part, there was always still that respect,
The
for the
respect.
most part. You know what I mean? And that's what people really really gained their name and their bones and stuff like that. Legends were born and stuff like that based on the character they pick. Hey, that person has a good Dao Zim, from Street Fighter, or that person has a good block, or whatever it was. People's reputations got formed that way. I thought that was really cool during that era. But I'm sorry.
The only fighting game that I could say that I had was that confident was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 1. I was unbeatable. Lines of people wanting to fight. Bring it on, bring it on. I got so cocky. I would tell them to pick my character.
You was one of those.
I was one of those.
Okay. I wish,
I was one of those, man. I was one of those, and I miss that competitiveness. Yes. I really do. Now, granted, Mortal Kombat was the only game. Street Fighter, and I didn't really get good until the home console. But Mortal Kombat, that was my genre right there.
Yeah, and transformative. Remember how I remember the jump. First of all, people don't give not only Mortal Kombat. Obviously, people know it for the fatalities and of course that. But the thing that people don't like it was a significant jump in fidelity, and again that digitized and in sound. I remember how great the game sounded. You heard Finish Him, and you heard those classic tunes that we know from now on. It felt like when Mortal Kombat Arcade Upright was in an arcade, it was like the loudest machine out of all of them. You hear the laughing and Shanks. Like it was just a very iconic arcade upright, if I remember.
Yep, and you knew a new game was just arrived because they would have like 6 or 7 cabinets all lined up.
Yes.
All lined up. Yes. Like Playland, when Playland got a new game and it was hot, they had multiple cabinets.
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
man. That's our era. Absolutely. I love hearing these stories from you.
So what would you say if you could compare it to today? I know you really can't, but if you could compare the arcades back then to today, what are like some of the major differences that you see?
Man, I mean, obviously now it's kind of devolved into like a barcade or a social thing, and because look, it was a hard industry to keep going. Obviously, the maintenance and stuff like that, and then obviously, the elephant in the room, home consoles did finally evolve, and they finally got to that level. I remember to me the change I remember where it was significant because there was one-to-one arcade to console, but you had to spend $1 zillion. It was Neo Geo was one of them, right?
Yeah.
Neo Geo was like they were big dictionary-sized cartridges. The system was about $700. The cartridges were about 150. Shout out to my cousin King David who had them. And what was revolutionary, they had like a memory card that would allow you to play your home. If you had it at home to continue at an arcade and vice versa. But for the most part, arcades were always substantially ahead. So now we fast forward. I remember PlayStation kind of really bridged the gap, I believe, with the System 11 board. And I remember seeing Ridge Racer and I remember seeing Tekken. I'm like, wow, that's the same thing. Because they were using the same board that was physically in the PlayStation. I believe Yoshida talked about it with Namco and stuff. So you start to see the gap. And then eventually, it died out. But as far as like, comparison is really tough to compare. There's really nothing. The closest from the fighting scene would be Evo. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like Evo today would be as close, obviously they're more popular. They're on stages and stuff like that. That would be close to the competitive feel, but it's really, I hate to be the old guy that's like, there's nothing like our era, but it really wasn't.
It's not. It's not because now if you say the word arcade now, people think of skee ball and those prize games,
yes.
Or the barcade. It's one or the other.
Or the barcade,
right?
Yeah,
or the barcade.
Dave and Buster's.
Exactly. That's you say arcade, that's what comes into mind, and from where we come from, that's not an arcade.
Exactly. 100%. You're right. It's not. So that's why it's a shame because it's like, again, there's something to it that I feel is missing. Look, I'm always about the advancement of technology and obviously the online era, the online gaming era. And I remember ushering it up like, oh, this is cool. I am talking and playing with someone who's in Europe, right? Cool, mind blowing. But again, there's nothing like, again, when tech is kind of debuted and you could go hands on with this new tech in a new arcade machine. And then obviously we talked about again the side by side, even the co-op aspect. We're from the era where you play Double Dragon and Final Fight
Hmm.
right next to each other and stuff. Like the era of couch co-op, I feel is also lost. It's very rare nowadays when a game is couch co-op for a current generation, system. Everything is so
Hmm.
this, and I think the biggest difference to your question, Matt, is that I think the connection of friendships are different. Like I feel real friendships were born because this is a
Hmm.
person you literally met. You exchange numbers. That's your friend. That's your guy. You
Hmm.
know this guy for real. Whereas now in this era, it's like people like they love me, they love you guys, but do they truly know us? They know of our persona and they think they have that connection, but it's different when it's really cultivated in person.
So we talked a little bit about etiquette with the quarters and the table, and you always know whose quarters what. What other arcade etiquette can you point out from back then?
The fun times now. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but I won't. Or
No, go ahead. It's all right.
okay, this shit talking.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
there's gonna be people you're gonna face that are gonna be wild, disrespectful. I had quite funny stories, of just I felt I was a very humble person. I don't talk whatever, but if you initiate, then I am going to reciprocate. And I will say, I did take pride in shutting up the loudest mouths. And I would say like as far as etiquette, dudes, first of all, all right, hogging the sticks and doing all that, doing all that extra stuff, that's definitely a faux pas. Something you don't really want to do. You want to be respectful of everyone there. But again, with the shit talking, it was kind of like, okay, you better back it up. Everyone's watching. You better, and dudes dudes will definitely come back at you very hard, especially if you were talking crazy. And I remember I had to put a couple people in their place. It was one dude. It was like I remember it was like a competitive. I think it was a Chinatown fair, and at this time I'm really good at Tekken 3. I'm really good. And one of my main character at the time was Warang, the Taekwondo fighter, and I remember this guy came in and he had his girlfriend with him, and he put his quarter up. Okay, we're ready to go, and he got a round off me the first round, and he's like blowing kisses at his girl and doing all types, and I'm like, oh really? Oh okay, this is what we do. So my friend who was watching me, he's like, oh wow, that was wild disrespectful what this guy's doing to you. So the next round, I like perfect. So then I'm blowing kisses to my friend. I'm like, okay, this is what we doing. Because I'm going to imitate to you that nothing you're doing is going to affect me, and I'm going to embarrass you. So it was one of those things. Countless stories of stuff like that, but for the most part, you be respectful, you put your quarter up, you don't go too crazy, you don't do anything disrespectful, and for the most part, things are going to be okay. But you have people with tempers, and some people that don't take their losses well, and accusing of cheating, and like
Hmm.
it's always that kind of stuff. So the competitive scene was always kind of hilarious in that respect.
Anything you want to add, Wes, to etiquette in
Nah,
the
he,
arcade?
he nailed it. It was the trash talking, the ability if you can back it up. If you couldn't, you just got embarrassed. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But I think the biggest etiquette was the respect everybody had for each other.
yes.
Um, and just with the quarters thing was huge, and that will always stick in my mind because you had that level of respect for the other players. The only other thing that kind of my pet peeve was the ones that would hog up like the single player games.
Yes.
Okay, that kind of got on me. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, for example, you had Dragon's Lair.
Mhm.
You had other people waiting to play, and the person dies, but then instead of getting off, he keeps sinking more money in, and it's like, yo, we want to play too, that
Yes.
type thing. So
Absolutely.
that was really the only thing that I could think of, other and then in agreement with everything Cog said.
Mhm.
So the arcades I visited were like smaller ones connected to like golf courses and stuff because I was younger back then. But did was there any etiquette around food or drinks, or people just have like pizza grease all over the buttons and stuff? Like, did you guys have any kind of etiquette around that, or did nobody really care?
It was kind of loose. I mean, I would say at the bigger places, you couldn't play that. Like, the
Mm-mm.
playlands and the big, like, the arcade owners or distributors, they would
Yes.
regulate, like, you're not doing that here. The only time that would probably happen in your that is like the local pizza shop or whatever, whatever. But for the most part, we would even be cool with what I would consider the arcade operator, the guy that would come in, that worked for the company that was in conjunction with the local place that would bring in the new machines and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
he would scold guys like, "Hey, stop with that." You know what I'm saying? And don't be putting the, kind of thing. But for the most part, you didn't see it too much, anything wild, in a sense, maybe you had that one offender or a kid, a very young kid. But for the most part, it was kind of like the unwritten thing. People knew what to do and what not to
Mm-hmm.
do. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember one time at Playland, and somebody he kind of lost his temper and took it out on the machine.
Oh, that was big. Yeah,
Mm.
you're
That
right.
you lost your
Yeah.
temper and took it out on the machine, you were ejected. They threw you out like right then and there.
Yeah, and they're
Good
gonna
call
cost
out.
money to
Yeah.
repair.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good call. Because you'd have dudes that were hot and
Mm-hmm.
they kicked the machine and doing all type of foolishness and just because they couldn't control. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I forgot about you'd be
Yes.
removed on the spot because those machines they would not play. That's that's income for the business. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
and then they get charged for repairs and sticks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wasn't playing that for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
I've seen that before. That's like when you go to the casino and people are losing like their bankroll at the casino and they're pounding on the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
machines and then
Now there was a flip side though. Now that I remember, the flip side were I don't know if you remember this, Wes, where certain arcades or certain, locations would have the coin operator tweak the settings to unusually harder difficulties than the normal. Because what they would do is they realize, okay, this is the hot game. But if
Mm-hmm.
we only give them one life or we make the difficulty harder,
Mm-hmm.
like to try to extend to make people come back because you knew
Yep.
the game wasn't this hard any other place you played it or like so there were little setting tweaks that arcade owners, I mean the store owner would tell the arcade distributor to tweak it to their advantage. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to remember some of that as a kid. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I do.
Mhm.
it's messed up, man, taking advantage of kids.
Yeah,
They still
yeah.
do
Yep.
that today. I mean, the claw machines, like the skill cranes, those
Mm-hmm.
things, you know,
Yep.
it's 50-50 whether that thing's going to pull up anything or not. It all depends on how they have it set up.
Yep, a lot of manipulation on the back end sometimes with certain things, but for the most part, I would say the majority, owners and were like on the up and up. But you did have a few that you were like, okay, I see. I ain't playing it over here. This is the last time I'm playing it at this spot.
Were there any fighting games you guys want to talk about specifically? I know we touched them on a lot, especially with the two of you. You guys are both big fighting game fans, but is there any you want to touch on specifically from back in the day in the arcade?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, yeah, I want to give co-op some love first because even though it's not a one-on-one fighting game, like I do remember how transformative like Double Dragon was, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it. And remember, you had the bash to the elbow. People finally
Mm-hmm.
learned how
Yeah.
to do the elbow, and they were cheesing the game when you finally learned these secret moves. But like, yeah, man, Double Dragon was huge. Final Fight,
Yeah.
that kind of
The
stuff.
co-ops were huge. Like you said, Final Fight,
Hmm.
Double Dragon. Then you had X-Men.
Oh my
So you
god.
you had you had all those co-op games. Granted, they
Whew.
weren't they weren't fighting
They
games,
were
but
fighting, but right, right.
the
Was the
co-op experience
Yeah.
was
I
big.
I was a huge fan of it because I did like the beat 'em ups, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then also I want to give credit, this is during the 80s and wrestling is huge. And I remember some of my favorite beat 'em up with wrestling games, the W Wrestle Fest. I remember I used to love I think I loved it because also was my favorite. He was like only finally in the game. And they had like a Royal Rumble mode. It was really cool. They if you loved wrestling, it really replicated the first one. So I think the first one was called WWF Superstars of Wrestling, amazing. And I believe it was 4 players you could play. Like I may be off with that, but the Royal Rumble game, WWF WrestleFest. These were games that had never really came to console. They were graphical fidelity at its time. They were beat 'em ups, and then all these beat 'em up games kind of then transitioned to me, and then into fighting. What we're getting to,
Hmm.
which is I can wait. Let's give some love. Let's go. Let's do a throwback, Wes. Remember Karate Champ?
Karate, yeah, with the two
Ooh,
sticks.
Judge. red. So there'd be a guy like, well, Matt don't know what we talking about, but like there'd be this the sensei. If we 1-on-1, it'd be the karate gi, right?
Yep.
It had no buttons.
You had 2 sticks.
2 stick. This game had no button, so you had to learn moves based on combination and placement. And it would actually, if you want to see it, it's in the movie Bloodsport.
Okay.
Watch Bloodsport. Van Damme is fighting the other one of his friends in Karate Champ. Karate Champ was a huge deal. So yeah, that and it was basically the karate era. So basically, one hit, whoever gets the first hit wins the round kind of thing. And it was a 3 out of best out of 3 kind of thing. And then at the end, they had the character who was like the judge, and it had voice in it. That was unique for its time. Like having a voice in a video game saying anything like was huge. So you got that. Obviously, Street Fighter.
Here's one for you. Do you consider? And I love this game, Yi Kung Fu, as a fighting game.
I mean, I consider beat 'em ups kind of the early predecessor to them. That's how I wouldn't say it's a fighting game, but I feel it's a precursor. I love that game. That game
because it was 1-on-1.
Yes,
it was 1-on-1, and your character was all kung fu, and he flipped around and jumped around the whole screen, and you fought different guys. Like the one chick had the fan.
Yes.
The other guy had the bamboo. But and your moves were based on your button press and your joystick placement.
Yes. That's a good call out. I remember that one. Yeah, man. So that, and then obviously, Street Fighter was huge, right? We know Street Fighter. But I want to give credit to the OG, which was Street Fighter 1. TurboGrafx had a port. Eventually, it was called Fighting Street. That was arcade perfect, but it took a while. But the origin of it before Street Fighter 2 became it, like that, it was a huge graphical jump up for Capcom. And I remember again, video games having voice was a big deal, and the person lost. It was like, there's so many like you all over the world, and the guy had the bloody lip. And you remember Street Fighter 1, like when they used to have like these voice intros, and then voice start, and then voice loss recordings, and I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, those games were pretty amazing. So yeah, that I think we got to give Virtual Fighters its flowers. Really, in the third 3D, Sega really stepped it up in the 3D space. I remember like, wow, games are changing. No more 2D playing. Now you're seeing 3D, you're seeing polygonal characters, more detail. And I think to me, the real jump was probably Virtual Fighters 2 and Virtual Fighters 3. Like, wow.
Well, I remember seeing Virtual Fighter 3. I was there when Playland got Virtual Fighter 3 that day. We were like, oh my goodness.
We weren't ready. We weren't ready.
Did you know it was there that day, or did you just happen to be there and they rolled them out?
No, I just happened to be there. Just my normal stop and hey, I'm going to play for a little bit. And then when you walk in, it was like, you had 3 Virtual Fighters. Like, wait. And the guy was just finished setting them up. He turned it on.
Bro.
Big graphical leap from 2. And Virtual Fighter 2 was a big leap over the first one. But seeing 3?
Mind blown. I remember it. Like, they had, I think that was the one that had the sumo, right? And they had the character, they had this female character, she had this very flowing dress.
Yes.
And you just see the detail. I was just like, wow.
Because she fought, and her stage was in the snow.
In the snow. Oh my God, that stage was beautiful. I was like, graphics, I've never seen anything like this. Lifelike, the movement, the animation, the clothing, the way things swayed. Beautiful stuff. It was tremendous jump. So yeah, I would say Virtual Fighters was, again, in the arcade, they were like what I consider these inflection points in graphical fidelity, where you go, wow, there's nothing like that right now. We have reached pinnacle fidelity. And again, always better than the home console at the time. The arcade was always ahead. And that's when you remember the teams like the AM2s, and you started to pay attention to who made it, right? You're like, okay, that's a Sega, that's AM2. Okay, this is that. And you start to get your favorites that way.
I got to give some love to the on the 2D side. King of Fighters, or Fatal Fury, they were popular. They were okay. They couldn't compete with Street Fighter.
Right.
They couldn't compete with the Mortal Kombat. But then you had Samurai Showdown that rolled around.
Ooh, big one.
That was huge.
Huge. Yeah, the art style. Absolutely.
That was huge. And then you had Capcom coming in with Children of the Atom.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice one. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
one. Oh yeah.
Dark Stalkers.
Darkstalkers,
You know,
yes. The 2D scenes, yeah, it was still
yeah,
strong, and
very
that's when
strong.
you start to see the very vibrant art styles really start to pop off
Hmm.
the page, and you see it get way more better, way more complex with the animations and stuff like that. Yeah, Darkside. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, Fatal Fury and stuff like that. Neo Geo doesn't get its flowers as far as a lot of the fighting game, was it, King of the Fighters and
Hmm.
Fatal Fury and Samurai Show, that's all from that era, that camp, and they had a lot to say in that space. Yeah, I really love those games too.
Yeah, King of Fighters, it started to get some love because the amount of characters that it pulled from. Because you figure SNK in the arcade had Fatal Fury,
Mm,
they had World Heroes,
yes.
um, they had Samurai Showdown. So
Mm,
they had multiple fighting games, King of the Monsters.
yes.
So they had multiple fighting games to pull from, and then they took all their fighting games for the most part, and we got King of Fighters.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
great.
absolutely. It was a great mashup. Awesome.
Hmm.
Shout out to SNK.
So we talked about Virtua Fighter a minute ago. That's obviously a pinnacle for Sega. What other Sega titles in the arcade like made you a Sega fan? Like, because this is I know that this is where your fandom, both of you guys, has started. With me, it was different, which I'll talk about in a little while.
Mhm.
Hint, hint.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
with you guys, what were the games were like that? To Cog's point earlier when he was talking about recognizing AM2, what was the first time you started being like, "Yo, what's Sega doing?" Like, what? Oh, that says Sega on the side. What games were making you,
Oh,
that click in your head?
it was early. It was early. Like I told you, it was. I got to give credit to Hang On was my precursor because again, it's realistic looking motorcycle racing game. The music was phenomenal. And then I remember when Super Hang On came out, and it was just amazing. Like Sega, the thing about Sega, they were really good with anything like what I consider the booth arcade game, where you get inside of it. Right, they afterburner. You know what I'm saying? You this playing game, you jump in it. It was a very engrossing experience, and I just love the aesthetic of their designs of their cabinets. It was just like sensory overload to a kid. Like I'm really gonna drive a motorcycle today. I'm really gonna fly a plane today, like that kind of thing. But the game that, of course, I would be remiss if did not mention Shinobi. Like Shinobi is
Hmm.
everything to me. It was very challenging. It was one hit, one kill. You had the ninja magic button. Again, we're in the peak 80s. We talk about the ninja craze is at its highest. And I felt the design of the character, the way that ninjas would materialize into the board. And then the bosses were tough, it was so mind blowing for its time. I was just like, wow, I love it. I remember I would distinctly look for the Sega logo.
Hmm.
Oh, that blue Sega, where is it at? Okay, cool. Oh, Sega made that? Okay, I'm playing this. It became, and then, I can't gotta give Outrun its flowers.
Hmm.
Outrun was huge,
Yeah.
huge. The convertible, the music. Shout out to Musical Sound Shower. That beat was rocking, boy. And then they had haptics when you were in the roll, like on the steering wheel, whenever you hit the roll, you'd had
Hmm.
that. Again, voices in video games, checkpoint, extended play, these little things, Space Harrier. Space Harrier was big. I
Yeah.
remember that
That's
one,
another one.
Get ready. You know what I'm saying? They're like, again, Sega was always about graphical fidelity, experience, music, and it just were just fun games. So I just stood all the way loyal to anything Sega was doing in the arcade. I beeline towards it. They had many. I mean, and then it went on with Virtual Cop and Virtual Fighters, and the list goes on. But they had the arcade scene to me with a lot of vibrant titles that were really cool.
Mhm. Space Harrier to this day is not one of my favorite games. I never gravitated towards it. I just did not care for
I like it. Suck at it. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, like, it was just some. It was, if you really look at it, the premise is stupid. The guy just running, what I'm saying, just floating in the air with a cannon. It's stupid. And I will say, like, it was just, I don't know, just the weird time of the '80s when you just threw
Mhm.
ideas against the wall. And for whatever reason, that one
Mhm.
stuck with certain people. I
Mhm.
always look at that, those are games that, like, for even when they came to console, those are like, okay, they just show it off, but they didn't really have a lot of depth to them. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of thing. They were kind of like simplistic if you really look at it console wise. But I get that for Space Harrier. Why you would like that? I completely understand that.
Sega, you saw the Sega logo, you knew what you was going to get, and
Yes.
then and that kind of generated to the Genesis or the Master System, because when they started porting their arcade games to home, you was like, oh, I'm going to play this at home now. Oh,
Yes.
and that's how I kind of became more of a Sega fan than a Nintendo guy, just based on the arcade.
Yes. That's literally it. That's my we have the same path
Mm-hmm.
because Sega was more prominent. You know, okay, don't get me wrong, Nintendo was there.
Oh yeah, they had Donkey
They
Kong,
had Donkey
they
Kong, which
had
was
Mario
huge.
Brothers.
Mario Brothers. And the first one was okay. That's when they were two and they would hit the thing, the
Mm-hmm.
POW in the middle and all that
Yep,
stuff. And they were cool. And I'll give them remember their punch out was vastly
it was
different.
huge. Loved it.
Huge different. Yeah, it was because you had like the green silhouette, huge
Mm-hmm.
character, and it was different. Obviously, we still love what happened with the NES. It was still a different. It was what you realize is that this is what I read. This was the big difference between me when I became a Sega kid. I felt like Sega came the closest to trying to replicate when it came to the home console, whereas Nintendo kind of reimagined a lot of that stuff because I'm assuming they couldn't really do a punch out 1-to-1. They couldn't do a double dragon. I remember, shout out to my boy Solve, he had Double Dragon for the Master System. And he was the only one that had actual two
Two
players.
players.
The NES version was like a completely single player reimagined game that wasn't the arcade, and I was just like, it's not really the spirit of what I played in the arcade. So that's weird. What you say that was the direct link, and why my Sega ties ran deep because they were really prominent in arcade. They had that stuff, that they eventually brought it in with Master System, and then that amazing shirt that Matt has on. We're gonna talk about that console. That console, I got to pop off. I got to really talk my talk.
Well, we're going to get there in a minute. I
Okay,
just
cool,
want to
cool,
say
cool.
this, Cog. If you want to throw up in your mouth one day, go ahead and look at the Atari 2600 version of Double Dragon. Go check it out if you've never seen it before. It
Ugh,
is hysterical.
awful.
Atrocious.
Awful.
Atrocious. Oh, you nailed it. You nailed it. And I think before we conclude arcades, like that was why one of my missions was I remember when I played Shinobi the arcade, and I remember I got the Master System version, and I'm like, oh, this is not exactly it. It was so slow and it had a light. And I'm like, damn. And I remember to myself, I'm like, man, I want to own the arcade because there's nothing that actually replicates that. And it was an old, as I got older, there was an older Texas arcade distributor who was going out of business when the arcade scene was kind of failing, and he had all these arcade uprights he had to get rid of. And I remember he's putting them up on eBay for like $150, full arcade
What?
upright Shinobi. And this is like me now. I'm working. I finally got my first job. And I remember as a kid, I made a promise to myself, I'm going to own that. So I put in a bid and I won. And then he's like, all right. And they shipped it, like crated up, freight truck to my at the house to the South Bronx. And then they just left it outside. And I'm like, wait, you got to take it up inside my house. They was like, no, our job's done. The rest is on you. I was like, what? So I had to call my cousin. I'm like, yo, Shinobi's here. Can you guard the machine? Then I had to call movers. And then they had to move it up 3 flights of steps. And then to this day, I don't live in the Bronx anymore, my mom, but to this day, my mom was like, when are you going to get this damn arcade thing out of this house? Because I still have that. And I want to give a shout out to another arcade game that I feel Shinobi was inspired by. I don't know if you remember this one, Wes. Remember Rolling Thunder?
I love Rolling the James Bond based game. Love Rolling Thunder.
If you really look at Shinobi, because I found out I did some research from the Shinobi devs, they were inspired by Rolling. Remember, Rolling Thunder had to jump up and
Mm-hmm.
jump down mechanic, jump up to the railing, and then it
Mm-hmm.
had the guns, one hit. What? Yeah, Rolling Thunder was amazing. So I have Rolling Thunder, arcade upright, full, and I have Shinobi. Those still two.
Nice.
She's telling me to get them the hell out of there, and I'll put them in storage, and then once I get my house situation situated, then I'll put them in the new spot. So that's what's going on.
Nice. That's the one thing I'm like solely disappointed in is Rolling Thunder 1 never came to home console.
Never. You're right. And then 2 and 3 came. They were good, but they were like co-op. They were
Correct.
good, but you're right. Number 1 never came to a console. You are
Mm-mm.
absolutely right. That again, that's why those 2 games really meant so much because eventually Shinobi did come, but it took years and they were very bad ports of Shinobi 1 that really frustrated me as a kid, as a techie, it used to bother me. I'm like, this is not what I played. This is not the arcade, and that's why it meant so much to have it. Now, finally, I believe was it Xbox
It was
360.
close. It was
It was coming, it
close.
came close. Turbo had a version that was close, but I would say because even Genesis, they went straight to Revenge of Shinobi.
Mm-hmm.
No one, and it was years before I got an arcade perfect Shinobi. I suffered a long time, but meanwhile, I had the arcade to keep me through it. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from as far as ports and stuff.
So the Master System. You have ports coming in from the arcade. We got Shinobi coming in there. We got Outrun
Mm-hmm.
coming in there. How? Let me ask you this, just an over the top question before you can jump in and take it any way you want. How satisfied were you with your Master System purchase?
I love the Master System, man. The Master System was really cool. It was more powerful than the NES. Remember what was it they used to call the Sega card? What was it? There was a name for it. It was a card. It took cartridge, but it also
Mm-hmm.
took like a card.
Like the little
Yeah,
cue cards.
yeah, like the cue card, right, right. And I remember having a game called My Hero and a couple other games for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only console that you had a game in it if you didn't put a cartridge. It was a secret little maze-like game that you'd put a code in and play it. But what it was is that they understood their arcade history. They did their best to port their known big franchises over, and I always respected for that. So I had obviously the Hang On and what was it? The shooter. It was a combo. It was Hang On, and I forgot the second game. Monster Hunter. I forgot what it was called. Something, and it was a combo for the packet, right? And you had that. Obviously, you had the Shinobi, but they had a lot of games. But I want to shout out a deep cut. I was just talking on a podcast with LSM. There was a game called Zillion for Master
Mm-hmm.
System
I
that
saw you
I
post about that today.
Zillion 2, I loved.
oh my god, Zillion 2. That game was difficult, man. What? With the bike, that's where they went side scrolling. They did the bike.
Yes, did the bike.
Did the bike and stuff like that. There was so many, like the list of games that Sega introduced me to was just astounding, and it's a shame because obviously Nintendo was all the rage. I can't take anything away from Nintendo. Like the kids loved Nintendo. It was clear as day. Mario's popping, Mario Brothers. I remember going to my cousin. I'm like, man, that does look fun. Wow, Punch Out does look fun. But I love my Master System. I love my Sega. And I love, like I said, I had an arcade port, perfect port of Double Dragon. Anything arcade I had, and then their own IPs. And then I want to shout out another one. They had, to me, one of the best RPGs that doesn't get enough credit was the original Fantasy Star.
Mm-hmm.
And we're from the era where now, battery saving and saving data, on an arcade was huge. I mean, excuse me, on a home console was huge. But so many games I could list and go on and on. But Master System was very formative. They had the light gun, they had the shades, they had the 3D. They were the first in 3D. Like if you really look
Yeah.
at that, Master System was very revolutionary for its time. But they just didn't have the brand power that Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
had in the home space, and then they were forced to kind of probably exit a little earlier than they wanted
Yeah.
to. But I still have fond memories from my Master System, and then I'll see it evolved into the shirt you're wearing, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's when I get to flex off at the Nintendo kids. When that Genesis hit, oh, and remember the marketing?
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit arcade action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
16-bit arcade hits.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
What Nintendo don't. The 16-bit Genesis system by Sega. Genesis does it all.
Oh man,
Genesis does. You can't do this on Nintendo. What
Yeah.
the origins of you want to talk console war? They were marketing console war, and Sega was having all of it. I was like, I'm for it. I'm a Sega kid. This is our redemption story, and everybody had Genesis. It was to the point where it was looking at an NES game versus a Genesis game, and then 16-bit graphics, 16-bit this. You know, it was amazing. What an era. What? We'll talk. we got stuff to talk about there. I love that Genesis. Jesus. Mhm.
Wes, anything you want to add about Master System before we move forward?
Oh man, nah. It was just you talked about the light gun because I bought like the 3D pack that had the glasses and you had Zaxxon 3D that came with it.
Yes.
You know, but like Cog said, it was our arcade roots that kind of allowed me to gravitate towards the Master System because you had Golden Axe, you had
Oh, I forgot about
Shinobi,
that.
Double Dragon, you had Afterburner, you had Outrun. So Sega had their hits,
Yes.
and it was the whole thing was play the arcade experience at home.
Yes.
That was the hook line. And I begged my parents, see, I don't have to go to the arcade anymore. See, if you buy this, I can stay home and play.
Lies.
That was straight up lies.
Yeah, straight up lies. Straight up lies. Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was I gotta give back. I love the aesthetic of it, the red, the black. It was sleek. It was a cool looking system. It looked futuristic. Look at it was doing. I do like the Masters. And then shout out to Sega for allowing, they don't get enough credit, but allowing backward compatibility. Remember with the Genesis, you had the power based converter
Yes.
that allowed you to play your Master System games on your Genesis. And I thought that was cool to keep that legacy because because it wasn't as popular, there were just so many titles that people forgot about that were really amazing. I also want to shout out another in the cut game. I remember the first game that scared the hell out of me. It was called Consaiden. Consaiden was this kind of samurai, almost like a Souls of its time. And that was the first time I was seeing like Japanese horror in a video game. And I was freaking out. I was like, yo, this game is crazy. It was very difficult. But they just had these unique, cool I'm glad you shout out Golden Axe, though. I forgot about Golden Axe. That was huge. Huge for say. That was a massive title that came over as well to the Master System.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware the Golden Axe was on Master System. I thought that was
It
just on
was.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Because they used to try to keep that base alive by still trying to downport, a lot of the big games that really were meant for the Genesis to handle, but they understood they were still a Master System base, so they would try to still give ports here and there.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So then Genesis, or Sega, let's say, Sega hires, what's his name? Tom Zielinski? Genius. Like the most genius move Sega ever did. Obviously, he was in charge of like marketing the system in North America. To Cog's point earlier, I mean, they made Nintendo look like the kiddie system. And at that time, I was getting to be an older kid, and I ate it up. I ate that marketing straight up. I was like, all right, time to graduate from Nintendo. Give me this Genesis. And I was very happy with my decision. Like Super Nintendo is great. There's a lot of great stuff on there, but Sega, the Genesis particularly, owns my heart.
Such an amazing system. I mean, again, begged the parents on that one, and I never forget. What I always like about launch titles is you get to see the potential of the system. And I remember, remember this game called Last Battle?
Last Battle. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it and was like, yo, look how big the sprites are. Look how big the character is. Oh my God. Nintendo had all these little figures like this, and you got this big brolic guy. Come to find out, they actually stole the history of it. It was really a Japanese anime called
Fist of the North
Star.
Fist of the North
Because
Star.
I'm thinking that game was the original game and Fist of the North Star was the ripoff. And it come to be the other way around.
Yeah.
They Americanized it, changed the names and whatever.
Mhm.
But the art style was amazing. And I remember when he buffed up, ripped the shirt off, and bro, that game was amazing. Was it too brutal? It wasn't too brutal, but it was a physical fighting kind of beat 'em up kind of game. I remember seeing it jump up with that. Obviously, Revenge of Shinobi. I'm like, wow, this. Okay, you got thoughts on Revenge?
You know what? No, before we go into Shinobi, because we're going to talk a little bit about Shinobi.
Let's go.
But we're talking about arcade and bringing the arcade experience home. How can we forget about Altered Beast?
Ooh, rise from
Come
your
on, man.
grave. Oh yeah.
The packing game for the Genesis.
Yeah,
Altered Beast.
Altered Beast again. Big sprites, huge characters, and co-op, 2-player co-op, right?
Mhm.
You had that going on, the cinematic of the transformation, taking up a full screen, you turn into the wolf. It was just everything was just graphical fidelity, and we weren't experiencing anything like that prior to that. Everything was kind of smallish and simplistic, and now you're seeing these big bombastic titles on the screen. Yeah, Alta Beast has to get its flowers from that. Packing game, we got that. Man, I remember, obviously Fantasy Star 2. That was the first 6 mega cartridge. I was like $79. And I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? It came with a booklet.
Mhm.
I was like, wow. And I remember Strider for Genesis, the first 8 mega. That's when you started to learn about the size of games, or the 8 mega cartridge.
Oh man,
You know what I'm
the
saying?
16 bits of the 16-bit high definition.
High definition graphics. High definition. Bro, they were marketing the hell out of this power.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
Like they knew what they were doing. They retooled, they took the lessons from the Master System, and they really brought it to Nintendo. And it became, that was to me, we'll get into Dreamcast and all that stuff, but Genesis to me, I know Dreamcast people say it was probably the best, but I can make the argument for Genesis just based on longevity alone. Genesis did so much thing, and I was just blast processing, and how can we forget Sonic?
Oh yeah.
The debut of Sonic the Hedgehog, we didn't see characters moving around that fast. The speed of the game, really fantastic stuff. And yeah, man, Genesis had they had the marketing, but then they started to get the third party support. And another inflection point was, we talked earlier about Mortal Kombat. Remember Mortal Kombat with the blood on Genesis, game changer. We're the mature system. We don't censor you. We
fun with that
allow
shit.
decapitation and blood. That was a deciding factor for kids on what version to get. I remember they were like, yo, Genesis got the blood, fam. Genesis got the faked out. You like, what? Okay, this is where we're going, kind of thing. They just had a run. It was the perfect storm of again, IPs, graphics, power, control, marketing. And I felt, at least in my area, the kids, they switched sides. The non-Nintendo kids became Sega Genesis kids very quickly. And I remember it being a really cool era.
I mean, this was important to me because it made me switch sides, to your point. And this is when I probably really became like a non-inclusive gamer, where I'm like, I just have one system. Eventually I just was like, well, I don't really care who's making the games as long as they're fun. Like, so I went from being a Nintendo fanboy to being like, dude, I just like everything. Well, I was probably a little bit more of a Sega fanboy at that point, but as I got older, it's like, I don't care. I just want to play good games. I don't care who's making them. I just got to play the good games wherever they're at.
I must confess, my Sega fandom I was obnoxious. I was not a good person during those times to Nintendo kid. Look, I suffered, man. I felt I was bullied. I was the only Sega kid in the South Bronx that had a Master System, and everyone had NES. Everyone. So it was like, damn, I get it. But Genesis was kind of like during my fanboy era. That was my pop off. I felt so proud. They had so many games.
I also want to mention sports. I mean, sports was massive on the It was massive that whole era, but I mean, Genesis owned sports. Owned it.
Owned it. Oh, that was another factor, because I remember seeing the Super NES versions of a Lakers versus Celtics or a Bulls versus Blazers, seeing the Genesis version, and I don't know what it was about the ports that it couldn't run well on the Super Nintendo. They were almost different games.
They were.
And yeah, like, bro, like if you love sports, EA Sports, it's in the game. And remember, the Genesis one had a very distinct cartridge with the yellow tab.
Oh, the EA, those are the EA games,
the EA yellow tab games. And those games, bro, I remember, again, Lakers versus Celtics, games having the NBA license, the players in them, and they just ran so well. The competitive games we played. And then remember, Sega themselves even put their name in the hat. Let's give a shout out to
Sports Talk
Football. What? Voice first down. The 49ers take up the ball at the. Excuse me? You're doing a full-on commentary for a sport that was mind blowing at its time.
Yeah, it
And
was.
the graphical fidelity with the side to side play, how big the
Mhm.
sprites and the characters look. They took their hooray into Pat Riley basketball. Remember the cinematics, kind of taking the double dribble
Yeah.
formula, but then blowing it up to lifelike. Everything was big and bombastic with Genesis. It was just amazing. But I love that you said sports, man. I forgot how impactful, because if you were a sports fan, Genesis was by far the NHL series. I remember watching, getting into NHL because of the Genesis game. I was just like, wow, I'm learning this hockey game. This game is it's fun as hell. Like, yeah, shout out to the partnership with EA, Sega's commitment to making their own, the Tommy Lasorda baseballs, the Pat Riley basketballs, Joe Montana sports star football. And they even had a marketing campaign where they would have the celebrities say Genesis does. Remember they had Pat
Mhm.
Riley and Buster Douglas and
Montana.
like all these celebrities that they signed in conjunction with their sports division to promote how they were better. And then it was a crazy time, man. What a time.
EA also had like their spinoff Mutant League Hockey and Mutant League Football were classics from that era.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
the superior version of NBA Jam also resided on the Genesis. Like NBA Jam was a pinnacle game for me, and I played the hell out of that Genesis cartridge. I might have tossed it a couple times across the room because that had a bad rubber banding effect. You're up like 30 points and you lose with like 3 seconds before, but it's
Oh,
okay. I remember. It's okay.
yeah, shout out to the acclaims, right? Acclaims and midways in the arcades that finally brought that
Mhm.
bad boy home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And NBA, we forget how big NBA Jam was in both the arcade scene
Oh,
and in the console
it
scene.
was huge in the arcade.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge in the arcade. He's on fire.
Fire.
From
Oh,
downtown.
downtown. It was such a good pick up and play, game. The fun factor was there. The
Mhm.
bombastic spinning, the 360 craziness, the shots, just the animation when you get on fire, you see the ball on fire go through the hoop, the arc, the huge man. It was, yeah. No, I want to give a claim midway how much dominance they had in arcade and then home console. They really shaped. I miss them, man. Like they were huge how they shaped the seed of gaming.
We talked earlier about the camaraderie in the arcade. NBA Jam was one of those titles that you and your friends would play, either together or against each other, but you
Yes,
played together.
together. Absolutely. Good call out. Good call. I love that one.
You got to use those cheat codes, get Bill Clinton in there, and all these other random people.
Hell yeah. Oh man. Such a perfect port to come over to the Genesis and yeah, those games just printed money.
Now, what standout fighting games do you guys remember from the Genesis? Are there any ports that were really good or like individualized games that were a pinnacle for you?
Yeah.
Eternal Champions.
Ooh, good one. Good
Now,
one.
now, it wasn't the best. It definitely wasn't the best fighting game, but it was Sega's attempt to use their 6-button controller, because we knew Street Fighter was coming.
Yes.
You knew Street Fighter was coming. They announced a 6-button controller. You knew it was coming because Nintendo had it on lockdown.
Yes.
So they gave us Eternal Champions. It was what it was.
Mhm.
It was an intent.
Yes.
So
No, I love it. I love it. It was
yeah.
I love that one. I like that you got a Pit Fighter on this list because I had a special. It was something about digitized
Yeah.
graphics. I don't know what it was because it was like basically life pictures and actors actually doing this stuff, right? That you put in the game. It was you die, you die. Like yeah, these beefed up crazy characters in a blood sport kind of a situation. I believe it was 3 players was the arcade, but I think for home consoles they made it 2. And I don't know what it was about that stupid game.
I I like that game.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed it in the arcade.
Mhm.
And if you won the fight, you had the stack of money pile up.
Yeah. And it was one of the first games that had like a crowd.
A
Like if
crowd,
you
yeah.
punch, they get hit into the crowd and stuff. Like it was just a wild thing. It was wacky. It was wild. But for its time, again, digitized graphics, fidelity, it was
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
Mhm.
was.
Any other fighting games you guys want to mention from Genesis?
There was so many, man.
Yeah.
Samurai Showdown. But then you had like the real junky ones. Um, like was it Cyber Justice,
Cyber Justice. Terrible.
Slaughter Sport.
Terrible.
It just they were just
Sounds good.
Yeah. I remember one. I remember one where I got my friends got into an argument. This was around Genesis launch. So I believe the titles were like Revenge of Shinobi, Space Harrier 2, Mystic Defender. There was an EA game that came out of nowhere called Budokan.
Mhm.
This game was horrible. And my friend, and this is the era where it's pre-internet. Your decisions were based on the box art. Think about that, right?
Mhm.
You didn't have a magazine, you didn't have a YouTube channel to go to get a review of the game. You're you're taking a risk with your hard-earned cash. I'd be like, damn, I don't know which one. And you look at the box. Sometimes the box art looks so cool. And you'd make a very uninformed decision and buy something that was bad. And I remember Budokan being one of those. And my friends got ripped for buying that. I was like, oh my God, it's so terrible. But yeah, shout out to Budokan from EA.
And then Virtual Fighter for the Genesis, awful. It was
I
they
don't
took
even want to look at it. It makes me want
a
to puke.
3D concept and turned it into 2D. It was awful.
Oh, yeah.
They tried. They
Yeah.
tried.
They tried. That's when we started to realize the harsh realities of console ports and not being one-to-one, and what was literally under the hood of the machine was just not capable of doing that.
No, not at all.
Well, by this time they would start transitioning into things like 32X, Sega CD. We're
Mhm.
not going to touch on those today. We don't have the time to go through all these consoles. Plus, there's really obscure stuff on those. Like come on, who really cares about the 32X? Who's out there saying I have to have a 32X? I need to play these games. Come on.
I agree. I wasn't the biggest fan of that era, but I know people that stood strong.
Sega CD is definitely better than 32X, but
Mhm.
just for the sake of the conversation, we're going to move on to Sega Saturn now. So, talking about virtual cop, virtual fighter, those sort of games. Wes, I'm going to have you kick this off because you have the most, knowledge and nostalgia probably for the Saturn. So, where would you like to go first?
Oh man, I love my Saturn. That surprise launch.
Yep, I remember.
Wild. What?
Surprise launch with 5 games. So I was working at EB.
Ooh, you had the inside.
I was working at EB. My manager was at a conference and he said, because we had the little book where you would just write your name, and if you were, that was your reserve. He said, "Hey, were you serious about getting a Sega Saturn?" I'm like, "Yeah." Why? He said, "Because they're drop shipping tomorrow."
What?
I'm like, "Really?" I said, "I thought they didn't come out till September." He said, "Yeah, Sega surprised us, and we're getting it tomorrow." And Virtual Fighter was the pack in, and you had 5 games that came out. And that was the only games we saw until Street Fighter the movie came out.
Oh my God, that was horrible. That was horrible. You just took me back to a dark place. I forgot about that. Wow.
I mean, these are the darkest times of the Sega's existence in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was, but it took Sega a minute. Like Sega in Japan was huge. They were the king. But then you had Sega of America, and not so much. It took them a minute to really get their legs and show what the Saturn can do. As far as 2D fighting games, you couldn't touch it. You couldn't touch it.
Yes, 100% on 2D. You're 100%. I have to admit. I don't have too much to add. I think this is a segment Wes is gonna kick me off the show. But yeah, that's when I kind of betrayed Sega.
Oh,
I didn't know this about you, Cog. So
yeah,
but you had
I do know where he went.
You had Virtual Fighter 2.
He went
to Sony.
Right there for Tekken.
He went to
That's
Sony.
What he did. I'm making assumptions.
You nailed it. You nailed, bro. I got caught. Shout out to Wes. You would love my friend Saul, right? It's my best friend since the 3rd grade. I made him a Sega kit. Let me tell you how that happened. Because what happened was, this is Master System era and NES
Mhm.
era. And he's like, God, birthday, the parents said I get whatever I want. He's like, about to go to Toys R Us. Should I get the NES or should I get the Master? I said, you Sega all day. You get the Master System. It's not even a question. It did work out because
Mhm.
with the Masters at the time, Double Dragon was a mail order thing. It wasn't in stores. Like for picking up a Master System at the time,
Hmm.
he had to mail in a coupon. And he was the first in our area to have Double Dragon for the Master System, which was arcade port or the only one with 2 players. So me and him have Sega. We stayed loyal to Sega Genesis all the way through. So I'll never forget. So the sad is about the launch, right? Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't see too much of it. And you kind of had to be a no because it kind of dropped out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And I started to see the press releases and stuff, PlayStation, and it was something about the 3D graphics, bro. I saw that
Mhm.
battle arena to Shinden, and Matt nailed it. I remember when Tekken 1 dropped in the arcade. It didn't have much fanfare. Virtual Fighter was cleaning up
Mhm.
house. Make no mistake. But I remember saying, okay, it looks cool. It's not Virtual Fighter, but it looks cool. But I remember seeing it on PlayStation. I'm like, that is the exact game 1-to-1 graphical fidelity 3. And again, to me, 3D was the wave. So I'm like, I'm getting a PlayStation. Solve was furious at me. He was like, "You're not getting a Saturn, bro." I was like, "Did you see the Tekken and the Toshinden?" And I'm just saying, bro. Like, I'm over here. This generation. He was furious. So I never picked up a Saturn. I went to his house. Shout out
Mhm.
to Kim. I went to their house. They had it, and I did remember. I remember the time I did regret though not picking it was like the 2D games were amazing,
Mhm.
superior on Saturn. People don't. The 3D craze was the 3D craze. That's what definitely I
Right.
felt, and then obviously the price point, what Sony did.
Mhm.
But people don't give Saturn enough credit for how great the 2D was. And then I want to give a shout out to like games like Knights and stuff like that. And they had different things, what I'm saying, that I thought was really cool. And the art style of the games of 2D was just so far superior to play. I will give it that. But yeah, I was
The-
the
I mean, I hear you. I wound up buying a PlayStation 2 because I loved games at that point.
yeah.
So I had a Saturn. I loved it. PlayStation came out. I wound up importing it, and it's all Tekken. But Tekken 2, oh,
Oh,
that was it.
that was
That was
it.
it.
They were out of there. When I saw Tekken, I was like, again, 1-to-1. Now the gap has bridged, and that's what I learned. Namco and the System 11 board, they mandated that to be in the PlayStation because they were working hand in hand with Sony as far as their console. So that's where they bridged the gap with the It was literally the same
Mhm.
tech. I was like, that's it. And my dream was always having 1-to-1 arcade kind of ports, and that's what PlayStation was able to facilitate. But Tekken 2 was amazing. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as like Saturn fighting games, like you
Talk
said,
to
the 2D
oh,
was top notch. You had Children of the Atom. It was almost arcade perfect. You
yes.
had Street Fighter versus X-Men, almost arcade
Mm,
perfect.
mhm,
So their 2D animation stuff
right.
I thought was 1-to-1 to the arcade. Yeah,
Mhm,
granted, it was missing maybe a couple frames here or there,
right,
but compared to the PlayStation, Saturn was where my 2D fighting games stayed.
right. Yeah.
So I went back and my friend had a Saturn. That's my experience with it back in, what was that, 95 that it came
Mm-hmm.
out. And he got
Mm-hmm.
his brother actually got a Saturn, but he was allowed to play it. So I would go over there and play with him. And I was like blown away at the
Mm,
time. I was like, this is awesome, man. We played, it was a baseball game. I don't know what the hell game it was, like ESPN Baseball Tonight, I think is what it was. It
okay.
was awesome. There was like, like I guess they were kind of like digitized cutscenes and stuff like that, where the dude from
Oh,
ESPN at the time would be like
yeah.
announcing the game. It's like it was incredible. I
Yes.
was like, man, I got to get one of these, and I'm actually glad that I didn't. As weird as that sounds to say, because I would eventually get an N64. Yes, I didn't have. I
Mm,
got a PlayStation later, but I got an
mhm,
N64 first, and I almost this was the point in my life where I almost left games. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this or not. And then I played
right.
Mario 64, and the game. I was it. I had to have an N64. So
Mm,
that's where I went from there. But
nice.
what I will say about Saturn, there was one game he popped in that like blew
Talk
my
to me.
mind the first time I played it. This to the arcade perfectness.
Mhm,
Let me just tell you guys about
talk to me.
Daytona.
Ah,
Sorry, I had
Daytona,
to sing it
yeah.
all.
Oh yeah, Daytona. What?
But again, you talk about Sega and bringing that arcade experience home and their arcade pedigree. You had Daytona, you had Virtual Cop,
Metro Cop.
Oh, Virtual Cop is sick.
Yeah, yeah.
you had House of the Dead,
Yes,
so but
yes.
Daytona, just again seeing that in the arcade and playing it at home, and it was like, what?
Yeah. Huge libraries to pull from, and they again, this is their arcade pedigree, and they're able to just
Mhm.
boom put that right on into their systems. That's the beauty of Sega. They were always able to lean on that.
Let's move into the final Sega console. One of the greatest consoles ever, some may say. The Dreamcast, of course, we're talking about. Um, Cog, let's go to you first because I don't know really much of your history about Dreamcast. So did you get a Dreamcast on 9999 or did you pick it
I
up later?
was
Did you come back to us or
I
did you
was
stay with
all the way
PlayStation?
back home, baby. I came back home, baby. I said that's the Sega I know. I was there 9999. Shout out to the great Peter Moore. Had the honor of interviewing him on Iron Lord's podcast.
That's
That's the
awesome.
only it's the only podcast I would highly recommend you guys. If you're a Sega fan, you need. I'll send you guys a link if you haven't watched that interview. We had him on Iron Lord. It was. I'm super proud of that because what he's so inspirational, as far as what he's done for Sega and then obviously with Xbox and stuff like that. And a lot of us Sega kids kind of felt like Xbox was the spiritual successor, which we'll get into. But for me, Dreamcast was them retooling, them taking the learnings and really bringing it. And arguably like the greatest launch lineup of all time. You can make an argument, at 999, the amount of games they had. And then I remember two specific moments. I remember seeing Soul Calibur for the first time. Holy bro. I remember downloading the katas. Oh, I forgot where I used to get them from. Where they would show the demonstration of the fire. I remember Killick, the guy with the stick and the stat. And I'm like, do you see what's happening on the screen right now? This is next level. So it was that. I remember
Dead or Alive 2.
Dead or Alive 2. Wow, how amazing that looked. We talked about again, Matt, me and you seem to be sports guys. The 2K series, the
Oh
birth of
my
the
gosh.
2K series,
Kill
visual cons.
They put a boot on the EA for the first time ever. Like, what are you
Bro,
going to do?
and EA was scared to death, had to get them out of the business, take the license away because 2K was superior, like on all levels. And again, they represented the sports simulation and the graphical fidelity, huge sprites, big thing, like amazing. And then I think the real inflection point, I remember we got this game, we sat everybody around and we are like, okay, this is a game changer. It was actually Shenmue.
Mm-hmm.
The original Shenmue, a game that was an RPG, the kind of the first open world game in a way, and then had the graphical fidelity of a Virtua Fighters 3. As far as that, they had fighting in it like Virtua Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
but then the cinematics, and then it was a day-night cycle, and you had to go get a job, and you had
Mm-hmm.
to work, and the game started out like a karate flick movie, this cinematic masterpiece. I was like, games have gone. This is a new level. Again, those inflect. When I saw Shenmue for the first time, I was like, I've never seen anything like this. So you had that. You had Crazy Tax. You had all the. Then you had the ports and the fun, and it was an amazing console. What was it? The VMU and I remember playing sports games and like, hey, you could do your play, so your person can't see your thing, and
Mhm.
that played on its own. And the controller had Microsoft CE. They debuted online, right, with the Sega. It was a modem, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was a
yeah.
start.
Dial up. It was a dial up modem.
Dial
Yeah.
up, yeah, but it was a start, right? It's just so many things they innovated. They had the power, they had everything going. Dreamcast was an amazing system, and yeah, I was all the way in. I absolutely loved the Dreamcast.
What about you, Wes? I don't have to answer this question. I know you were there in 9999. So, what did you pick up? What do you want to say about it?
I was there prior because I wound up importing mine. You know, there was
Ooh,
yeah, there was a couple game shops at the time that game shops were popping up now in New York.
yes, yes.
You know, and I frequent quite a few of them. So I
Mm,
wound up importing my Dreamcast prior
nice.
to the American launch.
Question, Wes, did you ever go to Penguin Village? Or was
Yes.
familiar with that? Oh, okay. So we have a Penguin Village alumni.
Yes.
So basically,
Yes.
Matt, it was downtown, I believe, like around Canal Street, Chinatown. There
Hmm.
were a couple of import stores there that were kind of known for getting again stuff a year early because the way the cadence was usually Japan would get the consoles and the things probably a year early
Hmm.
before American release.
Right.
So
I
you
remember
could get
that.
a PlayStation a year ahead, a Dreamcast a year. Like that's what
Hmm.
the cadence was before it came to the states. And you just obviously you had to deal with Japanese text and manuals and fiddling around on these things,
Hmm.
right? And non-English things. But if you love gaming, you paid a little bit more. You paid probably a lot more. But if you wanted it first, that's the place to go, and you'd get that stuff.
Wes, what else do you want to talk about with the Dreamcast? Was there any arcade games that were, really important to you at that time?
Yes, they had like one of the biggest fighting games of all time, and it was I want to say an arcade perfect port, which was Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh, that's a great bring up.
Ooh, big
That
one.
that was huge on the Dreamcast.
Huge. Huge. You did. That was pinnacle right there.
It
Pinnacle.
was.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they have such a great port of it.
Hmm.
And again, I have to give Saturn its flowers when it came to this 2D fight. Like they were just by far superior. It wasn't close because I remember at that time, me and my cousin we used to compare versions and stuff. We'd be like, yeah, the 2D is actually way better on Saturn
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, but then on the Dreamcast, you had the arcade stuff again coming home. You had
Mhm.
Power Stone, seeing Power Stone in the
Pinnacle.
Oh
arcade,
yeah.
and then seeing Power Stone on the Dreamcast
Oh
was amazing, amazing.
yes, yes.
Virtual
Dreamcast,
Fighter, Virtual Fighter 3.
Virtual Fighters. Yeah,
Seeing that
Dreamcast.
in the arcade, seeing it at home.
Hmm.
Dead or Alive, seeing it in the arcade, seeing it on again. It's like you can go on and on and on. And the arcade to home version was really, really close, if
Really
not
close.
identical.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you nailed it. And I remember we had Peter on. He said the only regret he had because we like a lot of people say Field Dreamcast, and arguably so, is the best Sega system they've ever made. I could totally understand the argument. One thing I asked him if he had any regrets. He said the only regret he may have had looking back in retrospect is that they had probably what maybe if you would have said guess like 10 to 12 launch time, that was crazy, right? So he just said he probably would have spaced them out for the longevity of the thing, as
That
opposed
probably
to
would have been a
just
good
like that.
idea.
Yeah, as opposed to like the shotgun blast approach at launch, kind of thing. That's probably what his only regrets. But yeah, man, what a console! That
Oh yeah,
amazing.
Matt and I did a retrospect of the Dreamcast. I guess what 3 years ago.
Nice.
And we talked about the launch of the Dreamcast and all the wonderful titles it had. Ready to Rumble and
Ooh, ready to
Hydro
run.
Thunder and Mortal
Yes.
Kombat Gold and Soul
Yes.
Calibur. I mean, we can just go on and on. Dreamcast holds a special place in my heart. That's probably one of my favorite systems of all time. It's up there.
It's up
It's
there.
really close.
Absolutely. Like I said, anyone who says that Dreamcast is their favorite, I don't really argue with them because I get it. I totally get it. Like it was so special for its time. I remember that 9999
Mhm.
launch. Wow.
It's thinking.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
How did that line up? Yeah.
We talked about Street Fighter, and the Dreamcast had probably one of the best 2D versions of Street Fighter. When we're talking about Third Strike,
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Street Fighter 3 Third Strike,
Third
the
strike. Hmm.
animation was top notch. The blowback of the geese, when Ken Reed threw their fireball, it's just loved it, loved it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Next level stuff.
But we can all agree that Blue Stinger sucked. We were all sold a bag of goods and it didn't deliver. We all know that.
I ain't gonna fight you.
I'm keeping quiet because I
Yeah.
really like Blue Stinger.
It's all good. It's all good.
What you don't know about Wes is that Wes likes everything. So if Wes says a game is bad, it is like bottom of the barrel.
Okay.
Like there's like
Got it.
stuff burning from the highways. Like that's the level that we're talking about. If Wes says the game is bad,
Yeah, it's
Well,
not functional if you don't like it.
you know what? Blue Stinger, when I imported Blue Stinger, and I was like, oh my God, look how clean the graphics look. And then just I don't know. I enjoy Blue Stinger. I
Yeah.
really did. But that's
Sometimes
me.
I'm that way with it's something about launch titles for me, right? Because I feel like when you get a new console, it's a wonder of
Mhm.
how the hardware is shown off, right? So there's some games that I know that I like that are really not great overall games, but it's because they were packed in with a new system to showcase the power or the abilities of the new system. Sometimes I tend to have a little bias in favor of said game if it's a packet thing. You know, say like I said, I remember when I talked about Last Battle. That wasn't the greatest game, but I remember how I felt at that time seeing something like that I've never seen before. So I think I kind of have a little bit of a scale if you're around the launch window and I feel you do something kind of creative or cool or fidelity wise.
let's transition to Dreamcast 2.0, also known as the Xbox. A great console where they had to impress me to get me over to their side, and they did. I mean, Halo was very impressive. You know, they had Max Payne, believe it or not, even though it was a multi-platform game, the version on Xbox looked superior, and that was really what got me to buy an Xbox. Max Payne was the first game I bought on my OG Xbox,
Really?
along
Okay.
with Halo. But I played
Nice.
Max Payne first. Halo took a backseat to it,
Nice.
and I was not there launch day, but I do like that. From that moment on, I became an Xbox fan as well. What do you guys, or did you guys pick up an Xbox on launch day, and then we can get into the Sega stuff from there?
Yeah. No, this is where the Xbox ties run deep because it really hit home. Xbox, it was kind of meant to be because again, I'm a Sega kid at heart. My beloved Dreamcast dies. I'll never forget that day. And I'm like, damn, no more. You see the announcement, they're not doing it anymore. You see Sega properties over on Nintendo, the sacrilege.
Sonic and Mario together.
Sonic and Mario together. You're like, what is happening? It's over. And then I remember the Xbox, and I'll be honest. I remember Microsoft made a console. I didn't like the sound of it at first. I was like, what are they doing? Because they at the time
Yeah.
they're the Office guy. I'm an IT guy. So I'm like, you're Microsoft Office, you're Windows. What are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? So I was very kind of like turned off about the announcement. But then I remember as it got close, and then you start to hear the term killer app. They have a killer app called Halo. Really? All right. Okay. Looking at it. And I remember seeing it. And I remember it was a perfect storm because from New York, they launch it. They have a launch special in New York City downtown with The Rock and Bill Gates. November 15th. It's my birthday. Xbox is on my
Having a
birthday.
party in your city on your birthday.
On my birthday. Halo is on my birthday. So I'm like, all right, I'll go pick it up. Blown away by Halo. Actually, no, take it back. I was playing Dead or Alive first. I was like, oh, this is cool. Dope. Arcade perfect, almost. Graphic fidelity great. It was my safe sad friend Solve, who I may get a say. He's like, bro, did you not? Because we all pick like what games you're gonna pick up at launch. So everybody set us to pick up Halo, but I actually fired up Dead or Alive first. So he's like, bro, did you guys not fire up Halo yet? And I'm like, so he's like, bro, stop what you're doing. Stop playing Dead. Turn on Halo. And I'm like, okay. Blown away. I remember the title screen. You hear those Gregorian chants. What the hell is going on in here? What? Like blown away.
It created atmosphere in the first minute of the game. Like that's so hard to do. It was incredible.
You nailed it. That's what I realized how important title screen music is. If you have enough care and love from a developer standpoint to put that type of energy into your title screen, there's a good chance you got a masterpiece going on. And yeah, I never forget You know, when I was playing Halo, two things. I remember seeing light sourcing for the first time. I remember when you go into a dark area, you press the black or the white camera button, and Master Chief would turn on the light, and it would illuminate the room. And I'm like, "Ooh, I've never seen this in gaming. This light sourcing." But the key feature was the AI.
Hmm.
You would throw a grenade at the grunts; they would scurry. The enemy was the AI wasn't stupid. Most games you go shoot, they're waiting to be shot. No, no, no. They were trying to escape scurry. They were trying to corner you. They were doing tactics. And I was like, okay, this is a level up. And then the key thing, which I owe Xbox for, literally my whole IT career, is people are like, yo, there's multiplayer. And I'm like, really? But you got to have a LAN. You got to have bring your Xbox. I bring my and the evolution of a LAN party coming to my house, people bringing TVs and their Xboxes to my house to do, bro. I
CRTs, like
see
150-pound
huge CRT, big back televisions. No, we're from the era where there's no flat screen. You're buying. We went to the Wiz and bought TVs. You know what I'm saying, to do it, and then I had to learn how to become a network engineer on the spot. Okay, so I need an Ethernet cable. I need a Linksys router. How do I do it? And I learned. I owe Xbox my IT career. That's how I started my foundation of just learning about basic networking, right? And starting a LAN party and doing the hours and hours of Halo multiplayer, the most addicting thing ever. So it was the perfect storm. I was a Sega kid that needed a home. They had Sega titles. They had Shenmue 2. They had all these other Sega hits, like literally on the system. And then they just broke. They did, from a tech standpoint, it was a very forward-facing system. Hard drive in the console,
Hmm.
Ethernet port. Remember, they could have went dial-up at the time. Ethernet port was a big deal. And another thing they don't get enough credit for is soundtracks. You could rip your CDs,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Put that into your hard drive so you could have it to play, but you could also put the music of that into the games while you're playing. And then the last thing, which really took Xbox to the next level, is I was an Xbox Live alpha tester.
Oh wow.
And I signed up with the program. Came with a little cheap little headset. It was a one ear thing. It was the cheapest little thing.
Yeah.
And then it had like this thing adapter that went into the top of the Xbox controller. And the alpha code games were a game called MotoGP and Ghost Recon. And I remember playing MotoGP, and I was like, wow, this is really cool playing online. But it was Ghost Recon where we form up and I'm talking to someone in a video game from another country. And it was just the most mind-blowing experience. So Xbox kind of pioneered all these things. It was the perfect storm for me. And yeah, I found Sega Kid found his home. This felt familiar. I was no longer a refugee. I got me a home. I'm adopted now. I was like, this feels where I'm supposed to be. These are Sega kids here, Sega inspirations. And remember, Microsoft also, they had Windows CE in the Dreamcast.
Yep.
So this was a synergistic kind of relationship. And it was meant to be. I was meant to be an Xbox fan. It all lined up. There's no reason for me not to be an Xbox fan at that point.
Wes, you have your Xbox and your Instagram name, so that says pretty much everything we need to know. But tell me about your history with Xbox and arcade games.
Yeah, man, I was there from the beginning because at the time PS2 was already out, and it was great. It was great, but you had Sega showed love, like you said. It was a Dreamcast 2.0 because they had House of the Dead. They gave us Shenmue.
Whew.
They gave us Panzer Dragoon,
Oh
Orta.
yeah, Orta.
Toe Jam. They gave us another Toe Jam and Earl.
Girl,
So
yes.
the Sega name kind of pulled me to the Xbox side, even though I really enjoyed my PS2 and I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. The N64, everything, loved it. But the Xbox, and then it had Dead or Alive. That's all that mattered.
Oh, so all that mattered. Oh my god,
You had
what a
Halo, but
showpiece!
Dead or Alive was what I cracked open. I was like you. I was like, I cracked open Dead or Alive first. That was my first.
It's so funny. We did the same thing at launch. That was the first game. I got yelled at by my friend because he was just like, I cannot. I was like, bro, Dead or Alive, you see how this looks? Are you kidding me? What? Yeah, I agree totally. And I want to shout out also another earlier Xbox game, Splinter Cell. Splinter
Oh,
Cell was
yeah.
wow. wow. Again, game changing. Again, using light and dark,
Mhm.
to your advantage for stealth, the splits. I felt like he was the true stealth agent versus, Metal Gear. Don't get me, Metal Gear is great,
We had a whole
but I
debate
just
about this just the other. I got torn apart a little bit because I'm on your side. I said
oh, we
Splinter Cell's
brothers.
superior, and like
Sam Fisher all day.
our
Sam
comments
Fisher,
weren't too happy about my opinion.
Michael Ironsides and Sam Fisher all day. I'll fight with you. Like, I don't care. Like that is cool, but Metal Gear is an action game to me. Like, that is not stealth and espionage and true. That the AI routines, everything about Splinter Cell to me was a superior game. This is Kojima and exposition, and it's cinematic and it's great. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but I don't consider that a true stealth espionage game the way the Splinter Cell kind of lean more into it, kind of thing. Oh yeah, I'm very messy with that topic, so I'll be glad to join you in any future debates that you have with anyone. I've had to pick up
Yeah,
the sword.
yeah. We had the Splinter Cell versus Metal Gear debate, and Matt kind of got roasted a little bit in the comments, but it's all good.
He was by himself. He was by himself. Don't worry, man. Make the call next time. I'm gonna pull up.
It's all good.
It's all good. Shout out to Metal Gear. I do like Metal Gear. I'm being slanderous, but I do like Metal Gear's a fun game.
Hmm.
But
And
it's
then with the Xbox, you had the evolution of fighting games because you remember Toe Fang, Fist of the
Yes.
Lotus.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
So you had the one of the creators of Mortal Kombat kind of branched off and kind of did his own thing,
Mhm.
and then because it showed Broken Bones.
Yes.
You showed Broken Bones, the Tattered. Yeah, you had Toe Fang. It wasn't very popular, but it was an Xbox exclusive.
That's exclusive. Good call out. Good call out. Yeah.
A lot of love for
Lot of love.
Xbox.
Oh yeah, a lot of love for Xbox. And then again, I just love how forward-facing technology-wise that console was. They really push the games industry forward as far as online functionality and just people now don't even think about hard drive in a console. That was not done before. We're from memory card era and everything, your save data being there. Like, this was a lot of big bold stuff, and I love that entry. And then obviously what they evolved into was probably one of my favorite eras too.
They took some risks because how can I forget one of my favorite games was Steel Battalion.
Oh my gosh.
With the big 40 button controller layout and the pedals and
nice. Oh, you did it. You did it for real.
I did it for real, man.
Wow,
I
you
think
one of those.
I loved I love mechs, so it was like, oh my god, they were coming out with this with the controller. I'm all in. In. I think Matt actually pre-ordered it for me. I said, Matt, take my money. I'm pre-ordering this thing.
I didn't buy it. I was like, you're a madman. Like, this is a console. Like, I'm good. Like, you can do it. I remember the giant box came into the store. I'm like, here you go, Wes.
He said, here you go.
Couldn't wait to fire it up. Couldn't wait.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think the one last thing I'm going to say about Xbox is, if you looked at that generation, because this was a point where I had a GameCube, an Xbox, and a PlayStation 2. 99% of the time, you're getting a superior version on the Xbox. That was that's how they really brought me to their side. Was I just kept seeing it over and over again. I'm like, dude, I have to get an Xbox. Like, I just need this better version. And I'm not a PC guy, so it's like, I want the best console version possible. So give me that Xbox.
Yeah, no, good call out. I keep forgetting about that. That was the big differentiator, because we love PlayStation 2. And PlayStation 2 was amazing, but the Xbox version was always superior. And that's when you start to see the fidelity and all the other things. And I just was like, yeah, I'm just going to get the Xbox version. And then again, you couple that with Xbox Live, and now it's a game changer. Now you really have to be a superior product that's offered with a superior service. And
I just got into Xbox Live. I have this really great high-speed connection, and I was playing one-on-one NFL Fever against some other players from around the country. Now, my gamer tag, my online ID is
Dark Master.
I was masking my voice. You can use your real voice, or you can pick from a list of voices. I was just being friendly. I mean, I'm not one of those game guys that gets, like, totally absorbed, you know? Taste it! Yeah! You're going down!
That's gotta hurt.
You want some more? Oh, you like that, do you?
Watch me go. Oh, yeah. Everybody goes down.
Yeah!
Yeah, the rest was history. I really stayed entrenched into that's what I betrayed PlayStation. I said, I'll be over here. I like you guys. You're still good, but this is where I'm at. It's funny because as a gamer, we all have our sensibilities and things that that draw us. But I really like what they were doing in this space.
Let's get messy, Cog.
All right, let's do it.
I'm gonna put you up on this first. Shinobi versus Ninja Gaiden. Two of your beloveds, head to head.
Ooh. Why are you doing this to me? Gaming ninja. You know I'm the gaming ninja. You got.
You know what's funny? Wes and I were planning this for a while. Like we have a whole versus segment that we just pick a topic every once in a while. And I was like, can we do this with Cog? I was like, I don't know if we'll have enough time, but obviously we have enough time, which is awesome. Nice. And I can't think of a better person to ask that question to than you. So
this is great. This is great. I literally have so much history in both franchises, and people don't realize a lot of the origin stories with Ninja Gaiden too. As far as the early Ninja. I remember Ninja Gaiden in the arcade as a 2-player kind of beat 'em up. Remember where you would jump over the character and toss the character with Ninja Gaiden? Like Ninja Gaiden is a different thing than what it eventually evolved into, right? Even more so than Shinobi. Clearly, I'm biased and I love Shinobi. I know how I feel about Shinobi. This is tough. My heart says Shinobi, but my head says Ninja Gaiden. And it's I gotta be honest. Look, I one thing about me, I try to check my biases. Now, here's the thing. Shinobi, in its inception, was the superior arcade game. It's not even close, right? When it came to that arcade, Shinobi 87, welcome Ninja Magic, hiya, welcome to bonus day. Like it's not even close. Now, when they now transition to the consoles, gotta admit, Ninja Gaiden was reimagined for NES as this cinematic, cool, side-scrolling game. And people forget, at that time, we really didn't get cinematics in games. You would see a cutscene of Ryu Hayabusa and some weird story and a woman, and you're like, it's like a movie. Yeah. You're like, what's this? So I'm like, okay. And then mind you, it took a while for the Shinobi ports. Now, Shinobi comes back up now. Revenge of Shinobi is peak. That is one of the peak console Shinobi games. You have the stars, you have the crazy iconic bosses, Terminator and what was it, Godzilla and Spider-Man and Batman. I don't know how the hell they got away with these licenses that they were pulling off. They were straight rip-offs. They had Rambo in the game. It was crazy, and the music of the iconic So Kashura, right? Which made the game, the soundtrack was just amazing. So again, Shinobi's up again. Now we go, Ninja Gaiden's still going, but then we talk Xbox now. We talk about the Ninja Gaiden for Xbox. 3D, running on the walls, transformative. And at this point now, Shinobi series is kind of declining, not making anymore.
Well, so, you had the Shinobi for PS2.
Yes, you actually true. You had the Shinobi for PS2, but I think, and you're right about that. It's this weird disconnect with the hardcore Shinobi fans where we kind of don't consider that one, but you are correct. You are correct. That's the one with the scarf.
Yes,
the long scarf and the thing.
The scarf, and then they did a sequel. They did Nightshade, which was
Nightshade
way harder than Shinobi.
Yes. And then prior to that, there was a little bit of decline. I hate to go come at you, but I did not like the Saturn Shinobi. Remember that one? It was like a digitized graphics one. I forgot the name. I was like,
Shinobi, I think it was Shinobi Legends
or Legions, or So at that point now, Shinobi's doing this as a series. I feel personally, this is my opinion. When Ninja Gaiden then becomes, and here's the other thing that Ninja Gaiden has that we can't take from it: the transition from Ryu Hayabusa as a franchise character into Dead or Alive as a single player game, continuing the lore, and it's just like it's. My heart is Shinobi all day, but I think Ninja Gaiden does have it. I hate to admit this. Now, I will say now, we're going to have a revisiting because I played Art of Vengeance, and oh boy, people are not ready. And I've played Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, great little 2D, great. It is not what Art of Vengeance is doing right now from an art style. From I don't know if you just heard, they just announced they have Yuzo Koshiro and the guy that did the Ninja Turtles. He's gonna be doing the soundtrack for that. So it will be the gap will be closing again. But then again, I say this to say, and then you got Ninja Gaiden 4, the big boy coming out. See, it's like Ninja Gaiden is always slightly ahead from pop culture. My heart is with Shinobi as a game is my favorite. But if you're going to say if I say which is the game I play the most, yes, it's Shinobi. It's my favorite. But if I have to say to the masses, which is what would be considered the better game, I think they're going to say Ninja Gaiden. And it pains me to say it, but I think they're going to say it. Where do you guys land? I'm curious. I had to really fight all my emotions on that one. But where do you guys land? The series, which one is better for you? Hey, Cog, you bugging? Shinobi is it? Like you say, kid, like where are you guys at with it?
Go ahead, Matt.
So recently, I played the Shinobi games. I actually didn't have much familiarity with them, but I went back. I actually captured footage, and I played 3 Shinobi games. I played Revenge of Shinobi. I played Shadow Dancer. And
Shadow
I played
Dancer,
3.
yes.
And I think Revenge is tough to play. It's a freaking hard game, and it was pissing me off. Then I played Shadow Dancer, and I had a much better time with Shadow Dancer.
Yes.
And
Shinobi 3 is peak.
3 is really like the best one.
Best gameplay.
Out of those Shinobi games, absolutely. And I did enjoy them quite a bit. I have a lot of nostalgia, and I'm actually the original Ninja Gaiden game. I'm very good at. Like I don't brag about being good at games, but I can play the crap out of that first Ninja Gaiden game like no tomorrow.
Very good game.
And I like to your point about the cinematics and stuff. I was a kid when I saw that for the first time. I was like, this is incredible. I was like, this, and to your point about Ninja Peak that you were talking about earlier, like this is like peak Ninja. I was all about it, man. There was Ninja this, Ninja that, Ninja Turtles. And then this game comes out, and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think not having the nostalgia does create some sort of a bias in me where I'm going to say Ninja Gaiden. It's going to be that out of a bias.
Mm-hmm.
I really think after playing those games again recently, I think Ninja Gaiden has the superior gameplay. Not that Shinobi is bad. It just feels better. Like, here's what I'll say about it. If you know how to play Ninja Gaiden well, you do not stop running. You do not stop moving. You just play Doom. The people who are standing around in Doom, you're going to die. If you're standing around Ninja Gaiden, you're going to die. Like, you got to keep moving. And you got to feel the flow of the enemies. Like, there's a rhythm to it. And if you get in that rhythm, you're good. But it takes a while for you to get there. Yeah. And Shinobi doesn't have that same rhythm. But it's a very good game. But it's that rhythm and that, like, God, you can get so damn good at this game. And, like, man.
It's the skill gap. I will give you that. It's a skill gap. But being good at a Ninja Gaiden game it's impressive. It's impressive. I have to give you that, man. I'm glad you made me forget about, on the Shinobi side, though, I forgot about the Shadow Dancers and Revenge of Shinobi 3, which is, for some people, Shinobi 3, The Return of the Shadow Master, or Ninja Master. That one is what people consider, even though Revenge of Shinobi is the iconic Shinobi, because of the music and the bosses, the pure gameplay, probably peak Shinobi would be considered Shinobi 3. That's the one where he's running. That's the one where he's clambering. He got the horseback, dive kick, surfboard. It is up there. So yeah, I'm glad you did mention that because I forgot to add that into the history. But I like what you. But I'm curious, Wes, where do you land? Which ninja are you siding with, sir?
I'm torn.
Pick between your kids.
I'm torn, because I have so much history with Shinobi, and I never really got into Ninja Gaiden on NES. I really didn't appreciate Ninja Gaiden until Xbox.
That's a good start, though.
And I was like, this is really good. But like, Shinobi, you had Shinobi on Master System in the arcade, like you said, which we grew up on. Yes. Shadow Dancer, and I love Shadow Dancer.
So cool, that dog.
Love Shadow Dancer. The Saturn one was like, Was it Shinobi? Not really. But then there was like a long gap.
Yeah.
No, we had Shinobi 2, like we said, and then you had Nightshade. But that kind of wasn't Shinobi. But I think they were, trying to recapture some of that magic. It was okay. But when I saw Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, it did it, man. Woo. And then it was hard. The gameplay was top notch. And then they made it harder with black.
with Black. Yeah, I forgot about
Oh yeah, it
Black.
wasn't hard
Yes.
enough, guys. And
It
by the
was hard
way,
enough, guys. Ratchet that up a little bit.
And then we got 2, and then we got 3.
Mm.
With the upcoming of 4. Um, I it's a tough call, man.
do it. Pick one. Do it.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Shinobi.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I am gonna have to go with Shinobi only because of the background
Yes.
of Shinobi and
Mm.
the arcade roots.
The arcade was so good.
Playing Shadow Dancer in the arcade and then knowing it was coming home.
Yes.
It got me. It got me. So I have. Go ahead.
Sean, please. No, please. I want you to finish your statement.
I was just saying, I have a lot of love for the Shinobi franchise, and then when I heard that Sega was resurrecting a lot of old IPs, and I saw Shinobi,
I lost it.
Woo!
I lost it, bro. Because
did
I'll be
too.
honest, I never thought we'd get another one. I thought it was something that, because now Sega's evolved in a way that don't get me wrong, we're happy they're surviving, they're great, but now they're like the Yakuza guys, and now they're Atlas, and now they're these other new big IPs, which are cool and dope, and we love it. And still Sonic is going strong, we know that, right? But it's just like the stuff we know Sega for, they weren't doing. They weren't doing, Golden Axe and Shinobi and none of the stuff that we grew up with. And to see them say, no, we need to revisit that, and to see them pick Shinobi was like, wow, I never thought I'd get one. And now the more I learn about it, obviously I got a chance to play it at Summer Games Fest. And it is one of those things that it's like, I usually try to, when it's stuff I love very dearly, I try to come into with realistic expectation, because I'm like, okay, if they just give me a Genesis version, I'll be okay. Oh, this is Shinobi modernized. This has exceeded this is now new kids that never played the franchise are going to play this game like, wow, this has mechanics, this has depth, this has a whole nother level and layer to just what we're used to. So I had to relearn, but then they got the callbacks from every single major Shinobi, from Shadow Dancer to the arcade to Revenge. I think people are going to be really impressed. Then that art style, which they took from Streets of Rage 4, which Sega liked that relationship, that beautiful jump off the page comic book style with the anime. People are not ready. That's what I'm going to say. Shinobi is going to surprise, and it's going to be a return to the form, and I can't wait. So I ain't mad at you. I like the pick. I like to think my ninja bias is in on that. But yeah, I think you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be happy with Art of Vengeance, man.
I'm excited. I'm excited to play. But I'm also excited to play. The new Ninja Gaiden, the 2D one.
Yeah, Ragebound, which is on Steam, is out now. The demo is out now. You can play on Steam, so you can check it. And it's good. It's good. It's not Shinobi, but because I play both, I can talk now. It's good. It's challenging, which Matt was gonna like. He's gonna like. They've made some changes there, and Ryu Hayabusa is almost in like a mentor role to this younger ninja that the main character that you play. So it's really cool to see them both in it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It just sucked that I had to play it after I played Shinobi. And I'm like, ooh, Shinobi Leap Char. This is in the 2D space. Like it's not close to me, but it's still a good game.
Now, would you want another 3D Shinobi? Because in the 3D space, Ninja Gaiden all day long.
All day long.
All day long.
Yeah, I mean that's easy.
Yeah. I think I would like an attempt though. I would like an attempt if someone like a high fidelity attempt and from another studio. It's just I got to see. I think I'm curious to see how this one lands in it, because I will say that if it does well, Sega's very involved with this, project of reimagining the IPs, and I'm curious to see if Art of Vengeance really does well. Do they continue? Because I will say that the feedback from people right now, even non-Sega guys, people are like, yo, I've never played a Shinobi game. That looks amazing. I'm getting that. And people are coming up to me. They know me as a Shinobi guy. And they're like, yo, Cog, I played that game. Or, yo, I'm in. I want to be a part of that. So it's getting the recognition that it deserves. It never got over the years. So we'll see if it gets that zeitgeist energy. Who knows? Maybe they try to make a spin-off or a 3D one. I'm for it.
Okay.
I'm for it.
There we go.
I'm just really grateful that they're 2D. Like, thank God. Like,
yes.
Ninja Gaiden going back to 2D is something, like, to your point about Shinobi, I never thought we'd have another Ninja Gaiden in 2D. When I saw it, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, thank you, Jesus. Like, are you, man. And then they showed Shinobi, in 2D. I'm like, I mean, I haven't seen Shinobi in ever, so I mean that alone is a surprise in itself. So I'm just like, I'm getting these two games in just a
bro.
couple, what, like 1 month apart? Are you
Year,
kidding me?
year, year of the Ninja, bro. It's throwback for us old heads. We like,
Yes.
oh, we're in heaven right now to see the reimagining of these classic franchises like this. Wow, what a time to be alive! Like I made it. I said I made it. I made it to another show. I never thought I'd get with it. And I'll give you guys some inside baseball. I'm going to be interviewing Ben Figuet, the creative director of Shinobi Art of Vengeance. He's a hardcore Sega fan like us. He's an arcade. Like he did the history. He's the one that pitched the idea to Sega to wanting to reimagine Shinobi, and it was serendipitous because Sega also were looking for a studio that wanted to reimagine their franchises. They liked Lizard Cube for what they did for Streets of Rage, so they was like, "Hey, let's do it." So it's not only is Lizard Cube involved from a standpoint of being Shinobi fans and wanted to do it, they are actually working with the OG developers of Shinobi on this project. So it's a joint effort with Sega and Lizard Cube fully, and I'm super pumped there. So we got an interview lined up probably in a couple of months, like a month or two, right before release, and be on the lookout for that one.
Okay.
I'll give you guys a link.
That's an awesome
And,
get.
and it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help that Limited Run is doing a collector's edition. I'm like, man, you're killing me.
See, my wallet is in danger. I put a tweet out. I was like, "You see all this they're offering?
I know.
It's over for me. I already pre-ordered it. What is it? $200-$300, whatever it is, whatever it cost. It was already pre-ordered. I am what Shinobi? What? Oh man, this is what a time to be alive, right now.
I want to ask you one follow-up question.
Sure.
What is your Wes and I talked about this in the past, but what is your opinion on Sega's revitalizing these classics? Now, the news as far as today goes, Sega is not renewing license. You're seeing their games get delisted, right? In my opinion, from what I'm seeing, it looks like Sega's going to launch either a subscription-based model, which I hope to God doesn't happen, but I have a feeling that's what's coming. Or are they just going to re-release these titles and they're supposed to be the definitive versions of the game? Like, what do you think, Hog?
Just hope that you bought your Sega Genesis Classic games a while ago. I hope you have your licenses. I hope you bought those games, guys,
Oh, I did.
because yeah,
I
the
bought them
delisting.
twice.
Yep, me too. I got them on a lot of platforms, so I'm good. But yeah, it's what you said. The first thing I've heard from good authority, they are coming out with a subscription service for the old IPs, and you're like, and I get it. We're in this monetization era, but it just sucks because it's like to take that off the market for people, it just doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good. And the monetization, I know that's all the rage right now. Subscription. Look, I like services like Game Pass. I'm not gonna sit here and be a hypocrite, but I just don't like Sega doing that with their history to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love for them to keep that legacy there. Now, in fairness to them, I don't know what other plans they have in conjunction with this subscription service, but if it's just, hey, pay $9 or $10 to access, I'll give it this. Even though I hate it, I don't like it. If they go kind of full on like Balls of War, where you're giving us in the deep cut games that you made and giving us access in conjunction with the stuff that you took away, then maybe that would help justify it. Like, I don't know, I'm just making up, Sega games that didn't get a lot of light during the time, but if you have a subscription service and they are available all your lineup, all right, maybe, but I just hate them doing this, man. Like, don't like the delisting part. Just don't feel good.
There's just too many of them. Like, if it was part of Game Pass, like that would be incredible. Like that would be an incredible value. Like, hey, if you have Ultimate, you're going to be able to access the Sega tier. Like that's great. Don't make me get another subscription one. Dude, we already got Ubisoft. We already got EA. We already got Xbox. PlayStation already has theirs. Nintendo already has theirs. There's enough. Like you need to team up with somebody if you want to do this. That's what you should do. Like
I agree. Well said. I feel if they're going to do that, they need to be as part of the Game Pass Ultimate tier in conjunction with the PlayStation Plus tier, right?
Get
So if
separate
you
contracts for both of them. Like,
yeah,
we'll give this to you. You get this.
There you go. And this way, it's already a layer, like kind of like what EA Play does with Game Pass, right? Where it's just like, okay, you launch it, you have a exclusivity window for 6 months or whatever, but eventually it drops into the service after that 6-month 1 year. So you get your money up front, you get your stuff, but that's what I would like, because I don't like Sega on their own hitting me with a separate bill. Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, it's enough subscription service. I agree.
Wes, your thoughts?
I'm with you guys. It's not. I mean, we pay enough for everything, and just the thought of Sega just going that way, just I don't know, share the love. It's like we've stuck with them all these years, but I know we don't matter. It's all
Mm.
about the money. So we'll see.
I just
Yeah.
hope like they don't make all these like live service games. Like when I hear the rumors that Crazy Taxi is going to be a live service game,
Oh
like
yeah.
Awful,
I
awful.
know. I know. Don't know how to feel about that.
like it,
Feels weird.
out of all the
Yeah.
games, Crazy Taxi might work as long as they don't shove in a bunch of microtransactions. Like you're picking up other people, like maybe it works. But that's also not what anybody wants, dude. We just want like you need to have the offspring first of all.
Oh, you
Offspring
better
has
have
got to be
offspring on
like
that joint.
yeah.
Better have. I want to hear. Yeah, yeah. I want to hear all that.
I want a
Trust
goddamn
me.
Pizza Hut, even though they barely exist anymore. There better be a Pizza Hut in there for me to take somebody to.
Yep, 100%.
We'll see.
All right, so for this last part, we have a pulse check. A pulse check is something we do every month, and this is just a quick look at some retro gaming prices. I have three on my list. I'm probably not going to go through all three. In fact, I'm going to let Cog pick mine when we get to it. But let's start with Cogs. So Cog wanted to just talk about some old school pricing. This isn't pricing today, but what he had to go through back in the day, importing some stuff. So Cog, take it away.
Yeah, man, we talked about it. It's just, again, Wes mentioned it, New York City specifically was a home of the import scene and be able to get things potentially a year before American release. So you would have, for example, the Super Famicom would be out a year before the Super NES would even be released in the States. So you start to see these titles and, being big arcade kids, we just couldn't wait. And once we found out the import scene, we couldn't wait. We got to have these games now. If they're available now, or how much we got to spend, or how much does it cost to get, a converter for allow me to play Famicom games on, Super Nintendo and vice versa. So yeah, when Street Fighter was all the rage. Like Street Fighter 2 was one of the biggest fighting games in the history of gaming. And who was going to do that port, right? How's that port going to land? And I remember learning about the Famicom version, and it was out. And I remember going down to Penguin Village and spending about for the converter. I'm trying to think. It's probably about 70, 60 by itself, if I remember Wes. But then in conjunction, the cartridge itself. So this was running about $150. About total. If I can remember, it was about that range. And
Yeah,
it
I
was
think the converter, from what I remember, because the game itself was like 100 and $120,
yes.
and then the converter I think was like maybe $30.
30. Yeah, good call out. Good call out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, we have to have it. This is Street Fighter. And it was such a big deal. At the time I'm in high school, and a friend of mine didn't believe that I had it. He was like, "Lies, you don't have Street Fighter. You're lying." I'm like, "Bro, I have it. You just gotta know where to go as far as the import because he wasn't familiar." So it was my cousin who had like a community center thing he was running, and he had it similar to. I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna give you stuff. Bring it there. It's not too far from my high school. I want you to play it so you can. I was bring somebody over because they don't believe us that we have it." And his mouth dropped. Oh, you can, you know what I'm saying? He was like, hold no, he has it. Like he could not believe we had it. Again, this is before American release. So the cool thing about it is just again the lengths we would go to get video games. How much people talk about $80 games now? How much we suffered was just to get things early or to play things on the import. Like it was a huge deal, and I'll be the first to admit the other price check I probably shouldn't put on here was how much I paid for PlayStation 2 before release. I paid $1,000.
You imported the system?
I imported the entire PlayStation 2. But you know why? Because of my love for Tekken. They had Tekken Tag Tournament at launch.
It was a great fighting game.
Oh my God. I was like, look at the mouths moving, look at the animation, the hair. I was like, I'm not waiting a year. How much does the import PlayStation cost now?
Cog's getting like second
One.
job, like I'll figure it out.
Oh, bro, I figured it out.
Where did,
Figured it out.
where did you get your PlayStation 2? Because I imported it too, and I don't remember paying that much.
It was about $1,000. I think if I had to guess, I'm gonna say it was down around Penguin Village and them those
Did you?
guys.
Okay.
Yeah, they got us. They got us good. Oh man, we saved up. It was ridiculous. I was just like, okay, I'm in. It is what it is. But yeah, I think the two most expensive I've paid for a console was 3DO.
Oh,
That was about 700, if I had to guess.
damn.
3DO was not cheap. I remember that. And then yeah, PS2 about a year early with, and maybe the 1,000 incorporated to a couple of games.
Mhm.
But it was about it was a
Okay.
grand. And Tekken Tag Tournament was part of it. I remember that for sure. I sold my soul for. That's what I knew. No one could tell me I didn't love Tekken. That game made me move mountains, heaven and earth to get it.
I mean, still, it sounds like paying $1,000 for a PS2 was way better than spending $700 on a 3DO.
Yes, yes. But look, I got fun memories. That I did a 3DO retrospective show with a couple guys, and it's a weird system. It's a weird system, but it was one of those that had a lot of potential, a lot of marketing biz, and then I fell for the trap of EA and Trip Hawkins, and they had the inside baseball support. 32-bit era, they did pioneer a lot of things graphically, but it was just very short lived and way too expensive. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother chapter with 3DO. But jeez, I fell for the marketing buzz.
All right, Wes. So now it's your turn. You got the low pick this week. What are you going to go with?
I picked like an oddball game, but I'd love it. I'd love playing it. It was originally on the Dreamcast, and I picked Space Channel 5. It was a music-based rhythm game where you had to push buttons and directionals in time with the music. And you had the main character, Ooh La La, who was great. And from what I hear, she was loosely based off of Lady Keir from Delight.
Oh, I remember like Groove is in the heart.
Groove is in the heart.
Groove is in the heart. And you know what's funny? I'm looking at the box on Hawaii because I pulled it up while you were talking. And I'm like, I could totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see D-Light from this. Yeah. Good call out.
Yeah, man. So it was I love Space Channel 5. Love Space Channel 5. It's relatively cheap. For Dreamcast, you can get a loose just a CD for $25. A complete in box, you're looking at $35. And a sealed one is $45. So for the Dreamcast, Space Channel 5, a lot of fun, dirt cheap. They did a second one that never saw the light of day in America on the Dreamcast. But the second one included Michael Jackson. So, and I think there was some licensing agreements that they couldn't release it at the time. But Michael Jackson shows up in the second one.
Wow.
Same type of gameplay. And then so that you didn't hear anything more from Space Channel 5 until PS2, where they came out with the special edition, which came with both 1 and 2, and 2 for the first time in America, released on PS2. Yeah, Space Channel 5, man. Gotta love it. Gotta love
That's
it.
huge. I didn't know Michael Jackson's involvement. That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because we forget Michael Jackson was a huge Sega fan. We forgot about Michael Jackson Moonwalker and all that stuff. Michael Jackson was a big Sega kid. Like he loved Sega. I remember he would work with them specifically. And and again, when we talked about marketing campaigns during Genesis era and stuff like that, he was also part of the marketing blitz where Michael Jackson's Moonwalker was a big deal.
Yeah, because Moonwalker was an arcade game.
It was an arcade game.
It was an arcade game.
Forgot about that.
I just went to SoCal Gaming Expo. That was one of the games I was looking for. Spoiler for a future video when I go through my pickups. I did not get it. I found one copy. It was like $175. So even if I got the guide down, it would have probably been like $150. And $150 is like the going rate. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait. Maybe I'll get a better deal somewhere else because I got deals that entire time. I wasn't about to pay $150 full price for MJ.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Moonwalker has always been an expensive game on the Genesis. It's just even on the Master System, it's expensive, but it consistently keeps its price, keeps its value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did they ever confirm that Michael Jackson did music for Sonic 3? Because that's been a rumor for a long time. Like he helped work on the soundtrack, and that's why there's so many difficulties porting the original version of Sonic 3.
I never heard that.
I actually did hear the rumor. I don't know how true it is, but I heard someone say something like that before. I wonder again. It is interesting because his ties to Sega ran deep. People don't realize how much it ran. So I'm curious if he did there's a part of me that could see it, him saying, "Yeah, I'll create something," kind of thing. And then, they never really got the licenses and the political red tape done, and it's kind of been sitting in licensing limbo. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. I'd say that. I'll just leave it at that.
They re-released the game, but the music has changed, so
Yes.
it has to be something with the music, and him being involved would make a lot of sense. Where whoever has the rights to his music now
Have the
is
rights to the
not
estate. Yeah.
allowing it to happen or wanting too much money to re-release it.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean with that too, because generally when you see stuff like that I've learned with back compatibility and other stuff, or when people try to reimagine stuff, licenses is always a big issue with trying to get that stuff back into pure form.
Well, that's why Forza keeps shutting down, man. The cars, they have to license the cars.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, you want old versions of Forza? Well, they have to renew the license. Like, who's playing Forza 2?
Exactly.
Probably not many people.
Exactly.
Before we go on to Matt's high pick, we're talking about Michael Jackson, and I just can't. It just popped into my head, how he did show up in Ready to Rumble 2.
Was he in Ready to Rumble too?
I forgot about
Yes,
that.
he was.
I forget, bro. I'm telling you, the inklings of Michael Jackson and Sega is crazy. Like, it's so wild how much of an influence he had. He made sure he kept like a lot of stuff subtle outside of his own game, but a lot of stuff he did kept subtle. I forgot about that too. That's a good call out.
Yes, he was. Now you got to go play it, Matt.
Was he a special character? Like, you could fight him, or like, what was he?
He was. I think you could pick him at some point, but yeah, he was a fighter in Ready to Rumble 2.
That's crazy. I don't think I have that one. I have to go back and check.
That was a good game. That was a good
great
game for good launch game.
All right, so for the high pick, I'm gonna let Cog choose one of these.
All right, what you got?
I got two different kinds of fighting games, but I got Power Stone with the twist. There's a little twist to Power Stone, or Project Justice. Which one do you want me to pick?
Go with Power Stone.
So the Power Stone with a twist is this: the Sega All-Star version is worth more, significantly more.
Wow.
So that's what I'm going to talk about. So Power Stone, the Sega All-Star variant, a loose copy is $200.
Damn.
A complete in box copy, also $200.
Okay.
And then a sealed copy is $380. So that was something that was surprising to me when I was checking out different Sega games to pick. And then if we look at the non-Sega All-Star versions, right? So loose was $200. Now with the regular version, it's $52.50. Complete in box is $80.64, so it's worth twice as much complete in box if you have the All-Star version. And then the sealed version is $226, so over $100 less for the sealed version with the regular variant.
Wow. Crazy times right now.
Yeah,
it is.
It had to be the print run, right? That's the only thing I could think of. The All-Star version had a lower print run.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, you talked about Project Justice. I mean, Project Justice is one that's another one that consistently kind of keeps its value.
It's dropped though because I have a copy, and Wes and I we talk about prices a lot with our collections. We have pretty big collections, and we just watched our values tumble ever since the pandemic. Like, the pandemic shot everything up really high, and it's been like declining. And Project Justice was like a complete in box copy was like $300 at one point. It's not anymore.
Yeah, like now it's like what 167, like 170.
Yep,
gotcha.
And that could be because the reissue of what is it, a Capcom Fighting Collection?
That's a great call out, Wes. They did reissue a lot of these fighting games, and that's one of them that they did reissue. So that could also be affecting its price.
Yep, I think Power Stone is on there too.
Wow.
Yeah, Power Stone is. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yep. So, yeah, man, video game prices is not what it used to be, which is a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
It means my collection gets small, my collection value gets smaller, but
I know. Digital covered, and it's just like so much with this right now.
You're about to open up a can of worms talking about digital around here, sir.
I know. I'm careful. I'm gonna be careful. We keep it moving. I won't say anything else.
All right, guys. So I just want to thank Lord Cognito. Thank you so much for coming on today. Again, if people want to follow your stuff, I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Where can they do so?
So again, first of all, gentlemen, thank you for this. This was a lot of fun. I'm actually sometimes it's work when things don't work out initially what we want, and then it comes together at the right time. I thought this is the right time, and this was an amazing show. I love what you guys doing. It's taking me back to memory lane. This was fun. So those who know me, obviously I'm at Lord Cognito on X/Twitter, or same thing on Blue Sky, wherever social medias you can find me. I'm at Lord Cognito. Also, Iron Lords podcast on YouTube. And every Sunday is the Lord's Day. We get talk games, bunch of childhood friends from back in the day talking about the gaming topics. And then for those who like me for Xbox specific content, I'm on Defining Duke, and that's on Last Stand Media with Mr. Matty Plays. We record that every week on the Last Stand Media Patreon, as well as goes to free feeds on YouTube on the Last Stand Media, the Defining Duke playlist. And then come check us out on lordsofgaming.net. And we have a lot of independent writing, independent news outlet, news, opinion pieces, reviews, all that good stuff. And very fortunate to be Gabe's Media with the work that's being done there. And yeah, man, just really appreciate this. This was a fun talk with some hardcore gaming, some real good gaming sensibilities, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for being patient, because I know we've been taking a while to get this, but I felt it was worth it. First of all, wait was worth it.
It absolutely was. I really appreciate you being on and giving us your time. Wes, people want to follow you, sir. Where can they do so?
You can follow me on Instagram at Grendel5XBX.
I'm Matt. You guys can follow me on X or Twitter, whatever the hell they're going to call it next. At from NJ2CA. The 2 is a number 2. You can follow me over there. Make sure you guys follow our company. It's at Nerdthusiast on all social media platforms. Make sure you ring the bell, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. If you really want to help us out, support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/nerdthusiast. You can support us for as little as $1 a month, and it really does help us out quite a bit. If you don't have the finances or don't feel like financially helping us, just give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That also helps out quite a bit. Yeah, that's really about it. It's so awesome having Lord Cognito on. We had Dustin on from the PlayStation podcast last year, or about a year and a half ago. So we're going to see who gets that. Maybe we're going to get Maddie next. And then that entire conversation about digital, we're going to go down that rabbit hole, because that's the person that's going to go on the same level of us, Wes, which is losing their mind. So that would be a conversation to have.
Perfect candidate for that conversation.
I can't wait. But Cog, thank you for coming on, man. It was great talking to you. Going down memory lane and the golden days of the arcade, man. It was fun.
These kids don't know, man. They don't know the joy, the wonder, the appreciation of what we experienced. I'll never take those years back. Those were amazing, man. Yes. Goosebumps just talk about that stuff and all the things we did to try to support gaming. Gaming wasn't, last thing I'll say before I go, like, people don't realize, like, our era kind of fought to make gaming relevant. And it was either A, it's not going to go anywhere, it's a fad, it's going to die. B, we're going to ban it. No Mortal Kombat. We're going to get this stuff out of here and stuff like that. So it was a very...
we were nerds. Like, we were outcasts, and now it's popular than, like, ever.
Thank you. Yeah. We were the nerds where it wasn't cool. You got laughed at if you were into gaming and that kind of stuff. And now you see, the quote-unquote cool kids now gravitating towards gaming. And now it's one of the biggest entertainment mediums, almost surpassing movies and this stuff. So it's so far to see where this thing came from that we fought for. We went to the arcades. We picked up these consoles. We did all this stuff to further gaming. And now it's kind of at a spot where it's like, all right, you got to give us OG some credit. We paid the bricks for you guys. A lot of fun, guys. A lot of good stuff talking about this.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time, y'all take care.
Have a good one, guys.